Sucks for her because she loves beer. So
That's really good. Is she an antibiotic?
But do you know who had this week? Master
who
Chief.
had one? Oh, he did.
Yeah, in episode 8, he lost his virginity. He had sex for the first time in the canon.
What? How old is he supposed to be?
I don't know, like over 100? I don't know.
Oh, shit.
It's a long time to wait. Evan, is she on antibiotics?
Well, too bad. We're not going to. We'll find out later, because welcome to Pixel Pints.
Where
we are the only global gaming podcast that covers two great things, which is great beer and video games. McWomble's off because this is a special type of episode where no McWomble's allowed because he didn't bother finishing the game, and that's his fault, not ours. So, sorry.
Bother finishing the game. If it's not on Game Pass, you won't play it. Doesn't matter what it is.
Oh, that's true. That's true. I'm sorry.
He doesn't own a PlayStation 5. And also, I currently don't want to be on a podcast with him until he formally apologizes online.
Well, let me go
what
through.
A loser doesn't have a PlayStation 5.
Thanks to Evan, we have a very long list of very nice things to say about Game Pass. Oh shoot, where's the list? I'm trying to pull up the list and try and distract at the same time. I think I missed my opportunity. Damn it. Oh well. Because we had what was it? Game, no pass, game. Oh, do you remember any of them, Evan?
You mean on the?
Oh, we got game fail, lame pass.
Lame pass. There we go. That was a good one. Okay. Anyways, if it's not on lame pass, he's not playing it. Which I call it lame pass too, because I'm running into a freaking issue with the PC version, which the app doesn't freaking work. I have to keep uninstalling it and reinstalling it, and then I lost my save file once, and I was so upset. But anyway, just to play this Guardians of the Galaxy, which I'm not enjoying, but I will keep trying to play it because maybe it'll get better, but we'll see. Anyway, welcome to Pixel Pints. Delayed pass. That's a good one. The pass that promises you things but never delivers. Oh, it's a great one. It's a great one. Yeah. It's like a George R. R. Martin for games. They're coming. I swear they're coming. Anyways,
smart delivery, more like no delivery.
Oh,
don't or you'll miss it.
All right. So enough hating on the Game Pass. Anyway, welcome to Pixel Pints, the only global game podcast that covers two great things with great beer and video games. I'm your host, Mitch, and I am joined by some great guests today, and we are covering Horizon Forbidden West because we all finished the game like good people, and we're going to cover everything about it. So in the beginning, I promise we're not going to do spoilers. We're just going to give our thoughts in the beginning. So if you are interested in what our thoughts are about the game, you can stay for the beginning. And then if you don't want to get spoiled, go away, come back and listen later. You can find us on live each and every weekend at twitch.tv/pixelpints, or you can find our stuff archived. Yes, children, archived. Look it up if you don't know what that word means, children. Anyway, archived on YouTube. And then also archived on any podcasting service you have. So that's Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, any of that kind of stuff. It's all there for you. I'm always going to say you're going to be more entertained if you see us visually because there's funny gags. We're just a fun group of people. But anyway, if you want to know when we go live every single weekend, you can find us on Twitter at pixel_pints and on Instagram at pixelpintspod. Again, I'm hosting today, and I am here in Los Angeles. It is after midnight, which is perfect, which means I get to drink, but we'll get to that in a minute. But anyway, I am joined by some great guests today. We got someone who has not been on here in a while. We missed this person very much. He's done our graphics for us too, which has been awesome. It is Rafa. How are you doing, my man?
I'm doing great. I'm happy to be here again.
Oh yeah,
how are you?
I'm already asking the host. Wow, you have not been here in a while. I'm doing good. Thank you for asking. I'm doing great. We got Dan from a similar side across the pond.
Hey, how's everyone?
Everyone's doing good. Wow, these are very quick intros, but I think we just have so much to talk about that I think everyone's just like, let's just get the intros out of the way, which I'm cool with. All right, Evan, all the way in Japan with a new setup because he can't. It's not an episode with Evan without having something changing in his setup 3 weeks in a row.
Yeah, from my room to the kitchen to the living room. Not sure how long I'm going to be on this episode because Her Majesty is recovering from a surgery, but hopefully I can stand for the entire thing. I'm doing well.
And we wish her a very nice, good sleep for her good health, while at the same time lets you stay on the podcast as long as possible. But anyway, yeah. We talk about two great things, good beer and video games. So let's talk about the first thing that is on our list, which is great beer. Now, for this special episode, fellas, I got a couple options, and you can pick, or help me pick at least. So I got, well, I showed this one time and I just didn't drink it on the show. Oh, I forgot a cup. I'll have to grab that in a minute. I got the Lucky Cat that I didn't do yet.
Oh yeah. What kind of beer is it?
That one's a Japanese, the Kazakura.
Okay.
This one I got at a place where I go every single weekday. This one is Buttercream Chardonnay. I've never heard of it, so I was like, it sounded fascinating. And then
there are some yeast strains that do give off like wine notes, like a saison kind of has a winey taste to it. So maybe that's what that is. I'm not sure.
And then this one is a stone. Oh Jesus! This is Beneviza lime, salt and lime lager, and it looks like that.
That's a cool can.
Yeah. It may have been. I may or may not have gotten it for Cinco de Mayo. But anyway, those are my three options, fellas. Which one should I go for? Got the lager, got the buttercream Chardonnay, and then this one is a white ale, which is the Lucky Cat.
I'm really curious what the buttercream Chardonnay tastes like. I think it's
going to be horrendous, but you could probably start with that so we can laugh at you when you pull off a funny face.
Well, I don't want to sound pessimistic about it, but I do think the same.
Well, while I do that, I gotta grab a cup because I completely forgot. So, Evan, I assume you have some kind of beverage. You always do.
Yeah. And by the way, we never record in my mornings. It's not like no matter what time it is, I always have a beer on hand. So recently, I think we mentioned this in the last podcast. I recently went to Onomichi, Hiroshima, and I picked up an Onomichi beer from, I guess it's just called, the company is called Onomichi Beer. So this is their, apparently their famous IPA is what it said. And I didn't notice right away, but because, as Rafa knows, Onomichi is famous for stray cats. They're everywhere. I thought that was just a thing they put in the game as a mini game, because half the mini game is in Kamurocho as well. But no, they're everywhere. So if you see, the logo is a bunch of hops with the leaves and a cat. I don't know if you can.
How cute! Yeah, I see
that. Yeah. So this is an IPA. It's made with English barley, hops, and Onomichi oranges, which is why Onomichi-o-kun, the cheap-looking mascot from Yakuza 6, is an orange head because it's the Hasaku orange, I think, is grown in the area. So it pours quite. It's kind of a muddy look to it. It actually doesn't look that good, and it doesn't show that good on camera as well. It's a dark amber, slightly hazy, decent carbonation. The carbonation has gone down a bit, but the aroma is it is sweet, and it has that orange sweetness to it, but it's not overpowering. It doesn't feel like they squeezed an orange into it. It's just got like a hint in the aroma, which is probably how fruit should be balanced in most beers.
My mouth is getting all watery
Maybe
right now.
Maybe
All I
don't
have is
pour
a,
out of your keyboard, Mitch.
all I have is a
Yeah, so
Budweiser.
I found it's actually it is legit wine, so it is a legit Chardonnay. It's not any kind of beer, so like it didn't pour like a beer,
wow.
but I'll
Wow.
just
So
I'll-
it's wine.
So the butterscotch wine in a can.
it's
Amazing.
buttercream wine in a Chardonnay in a can.
Okay. So
All right,
yeah,
well,
I hope it would
can't-
be some sort of beer.
It's from
When was it-
California.
How long's it been there for? Because depending on its age, you might end up getting metallic notes because the metal on the inside of the can kind of persist into the wine because
Well, it's
of the
labeled-
alcohol content.
Well, it's labeled 2019.
Ooh, okay, interesting. Let me know if you have you had any metallic notes. It means that the metal's leached into the alcohol.
I can't find it. I can't find it anywhere in UK to order. It's
Yeah,
it's
I'm,
almost non-existent.
I'm tossing it. I just wanted to
Yeah.
try it just to try it. It's not because there's metal, but it just doesn't. It's not a beer and it doesn't taste great. So which one do you want me to go? Lucky Cat White Ale, or do you want me to go with the lager?
Let's make it a cat episode. Lucky Cat.
Go
Okay.
the Lucky
Sure.
Cat way, and then because you
Two
can finish
cats.
on a lager, you
Yeah,
can
it's,
go from the ale to the lager better than the other way around.
I just need
It's
like
an,
10 more seconds.
Nomichi themed episode.
So I did think when you said Chardonnay, I was like, I've never heard of a Chardonnay beer. So that's quite funny that it was just a wine.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Like I know Chardonnay wine, but not beer. So let's see how that tastes. But it's just wine. I'm so disappointed.
In terms of the taste of this beer, it does, you know how like the rinds of citrus fruit are slightly bitter, but you still
yeah.
get a bit of the citrus in it. It has a bit of that in it, but it goes really, really well with the bitterness of the hops. And again, like I say it all the time, any good IPA, the longer you drink it, the more that bitterness should build on your tongue and stay there.
Yeah.
And it's not overpowering, but this is a really, really good beer. I had another beer at the brewery in Onomichi, which was okay, but this definitely, this IPA is solid. And I do appreciate that they took something from Onomichi, the Hasaku orange, and put it in there and actually made it work instead of having it be some sort of gimmicky thing. You're like, oh yeah, it's just an orange squeezed in in a glass or something, which wouldn't really work with an IPA. But yeah, this is a really good beer. I really like it.
What did you say it's called?
It's just called the Onomichi IPA. Oh, and it's 6% ABV and 330 ml bottle.
Interesting. That's not looking like I thought it would look like. That just looks like a lager. But oh well, never mind. We'll see how it goes.
Yeah, that doesn't
doesn't
really look like a white
Doesn't
ale.
look like a white ale at all.
It says
White ale.
white ale.
Oh, by the way, Kizakura Brewery, which makes that beer, is located in Fushimi, Kyoto. It's the southernmost ward of Kyoto. They're originally a sake brewery. The sake brewery is across the street from the
Nice.
main brewery. So they have their roots in sake, and they decided to. They kind of know how to make sake. They easily could learn how to make beer. I don't think their beers are anything spectacular. Like I don't often buy them, but I've had a couple of them, and they're okay. I don't know, Mitch. What do you think?
Well, this one's 5%.
Does it look like does it just taste like a hoppy lager? Because it looks like a hoppy lager. It looks like it potentially be a hoppy lager rather than a white ale. But
It's got a lot going on. It's complex. It's not simplistic at all. Oh, Jesus.
hoppy
It
lager.
reminds me of tea. It's got like a tea taste to it, which I'm
Ooh.
not sure, but in a good way.
Oh, okay.
See, I like it. I actually really like this one.
Okay, cool.
This one I could do in the sun.
That's always good. Do the summer check. Could you drink it all day in the sun? Then you can label it as a session IPA.
Yeah,
It's not an IPA.
I
Session
could.
drink.
Yeah, I could drink this
Yeah,
in
proper
the sun.
sesh
Yeah,
beer, bro.
proper sesh,
Yeah.
bro.
I also have a cat mug, which is upside down,
Oh, nice.
and here's a cat as well. So there are cats
Oh,
all over the place.
That's why you wanted to
episode.
go with the cat theme.
Yeah.
Now everything makes sense now. Jesus.
All right, Evan, I'm with you for the dogs, so it's all right.
Hey,
Yeah,
well, I
funnily
had
enough, there are no cat-like machines in Horizon, are
well,
there?
Yeah,
well,
like
we will
we will get to that. So now that we are off the beers, which there is a lucky dog beer. If you did not watch last week's episode, I had a lucky dog beer instead. But anyway, we're talking about Horizon. So this one is going to be holding off on the spoilers because I just want your overall thoughts about both games. Just kind of bring them together. Just like a quick summary of your thought of like what you thought of the first game when it came out. And then after you played the second one, what's your thought of it after you played the second one? After that, we're going to go hands on in and spoilers, and I'll give you a warning when we do. But I'm going to start with Rafa. What's your experience with the first one, and then what's your thoughts after playing the second one?
so the first one is after playing the second one, it's like the perfect package, the right pacing, the right length, right? Um, it ends right when you think you're done. Like, and I'm saying that together with the Platinum Journey. Um, and while Forbidden West is a great improvement on mechanics, it feels so good to play with the DualSense controller. It has so many quality of life improvements. It to me just felt like a third of the length of the game could have not been there. You know, I feel like they artificially um, elongated the game, right? Like uh, it was it stood a bit more past its uh, welcome period,
Mm-hmm. Okay.
but a great game nonetheless. Like uh, you can easily turn it into a podcast game.
Okay. Evan, what's your experience with the first one, and then what's your thoughts after finishing the second one?
First one, I really liked. I think it kind of was unfairly compared to Breath of the Wild because they're very different games, but they came out in the same week, similar to how Elden Ring totally took over um, Forbidden West's kind of FOMO wave, unfortunately. But yeah, the first game was really good. Definitely the I'm always up for a really good mystery. So when you go post-apocalyptic, you always have that. Okay, this is immediately interesting because you want to figure out what the hell happened to the world, and then you kind of get something visually unique about these machines that have kind of taken over the land and. I thought it was extremely novel. And the one thing you want in a game like that is for the combat to hit, and it did. Super fun combat. That immediate gameplay loop will, I mean, you can coast on how good that is for a solid 40 hours, as Rafa was talking about. So yeah, I loved the first one, got the platinum trophy, and I agree with him that they had a way better balance of side quests, the amount of side quests, how long the game was, and all of those types of things. And for Forbidden West, I think it's a bit too bloated, and I think they didn't add enough new things to the game. Things that we saw in games that came out around the time that Horizon Zero Dawn came out, and they didn't take enough from what other games are trying to do to make to find a way to make open world games a bit more unique. And we make fun of like the Ubisoft kind of open world aspect where a lot of the things are very kind of cut and paste. Like even Far Cry 6 is kind of like a new texture slapped over the same type of game. It doesn't seem like to me they didn't do enough with the open world to make it feel unique, and thus the gameplay loop, which felt so novel the first time, does not feel as novel the second time because it is the second time around. Ultimately, I really liked the game, played it for nearly 80 hours and got the platinum trophy, but I was disappointed in a lot of aspects of it.
Okay. Oh yeah, I forgot to ask Rafa, how many hours did you put in?
I think it was around 90.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right, Dan, where you at?
The first game, so since playing the second game, reaffirms my belief that obviously I know this did come out on PlayStation 4, but if we strictly say when the PlayStation 5 out, the PlayStation 4 generation kind of ended. I know it's kind of we're in this weird overlap time, but in that case, the games that came out before the PlayStation 5 came out, it was my game of the PlayStation 4 generation. I absolutely loved it, loved every minute of it. I had a lot of praise for it. It was I played the DLC was fantastic. They eventually released for it. So this time around, I was all in for this game. I was a bit wary that it was going to be a cross generational release, which kind of made me I was a bit, but I was really excited. And for the first 25 hours, I was thoroughly enjoying it. And then it started to wane. And things that I loved in the first game, I then was like, why am I doing this 100 times? I found like the map was like ginormous, and I was kind of thinking, why am I not exploring this part? There's nothing reason for me to go up here apart from let's just explore it. But the problem is I wouldn't normally do that, but all the other bloated side quests and everything else that didn't really get you much, I found. There was one or two that were useful, but a lot of them were just like, do this, do that, and I ended up with loads of gear I didn't really need. And it was just a bit disappointing, to be honest. I thought there's aspects of the game that could have been better. Like there was parts I was like, wow, I've discovered this is awesome, but then they didn't really go anywhere with it. And the fact that I got to the 77th hour of the game after completing it, and I still hadn't realised that there was like a dungeon in the top like of the map, but I just hadn't quested up there because I'd just been milling around, like enjoying the Vegas bit where I enjoyed. I won't say anything else. There was bits in it I enjoyed. I was like, oh, that's where that is, and I was just like, okay. I was like, I feel like I've been exploring this for too long. I won't go into it now, but then I might be the problem. I might have caused that myself when we talk about it later on about the order you can play things in. I could have caused that, but yeah, it was. Yeah, I don't know. I'm still a bit salty about the game. Like I'm at 81 hours, I think, and I'm about 2 things away from the platinum trophy, and I do want to do it, but I'm just kind of going back into that world, and I'm just like, can't really be bothered, which is sad because I jumped back into Horizon Zero Dawn just before this came out, and loved it still. Absolutely was like still, but as Evan said, they just didn't change enough. There wasn't enough new stuff. There wasn't like a game style change at any point after the first like 20 hours. I didn't feel. I didn't really have anything new. So yeah.
Okay. For clarification, you 3 played this on PS5.
Yep.
Yes.
Okay, so I'm the only one here that played it on a PlayStation 4 Pro.
Ooh.
Woof.
Okay.
Did your PlayStation 4 Pro fly through the window after
Yeah, did it levitate?
No, it did not levitate.
takeoff? That is I'm sorry, that is such an old joke that people have been making for you. I apologize. I take
To
it
be
back.
fair, my brother's been playing it on PlayStation 4 base.
Oh, I'd be fascinated to hear about his experience with that. But
So far, he's like, it's not that bad. He said,
Yeah.
he's blown away by how they managed to make it work. That's what he said so far. He's not that far in, but
I would agree. So like I hit credits. I was about 44 hours, and I did all the side quests, did all the cauldrons. I know. Evan looks at me like,
How?
how?
How did you?
How did Yeah, how?
I don't know, guys.
You play the game on easy.
You guys know that. No, I play it on normal, like everyone else. I don't know
not
what.
Evan. Evan plays it on hard.
You all
I played it on hard. Yeah.
you all look at me like this, and I got this look when I was with Sifted too, and I was getting through all these games that Matt and Shane are like, I beat them by like 10 hours, and I'm like, I just play the game. I play efficient. So I was able to do all the side missions, all the cauldrons, a bunch of like bandit camps, but like I think I'm at 65% or 68% of the trophies completed in 44 hours. So yeah, I am probably the reverse of Evan. I know Evan loves Breath of the Wild, thinks it's the greatest thing on the planet Earth. I go to say that Horizon itself, the original Horizon, showed the flaws in Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild so much that it was gobsmacking to me of how people rated that game over Horizon. Not saying Horizon is the god all be all. I didn't think, like, in my mind, I didn't think Horizon deserved like 9s when it came out originally, but I do not think Breath of the Wild deserved 9s. I think it should have been like an 8, an 8 at the highest, 7.5 to be honest.
I'd agree with you there, Mitch.
For how rudimentary.
Having played both games, no comparison.
Yeah, there's no comparison. They're both the same type of game. They're an open world game, and yet one of them has way more content in it, looks better, has way better combat skills. There's no weapon degradation. But anyway, I'm not going to get into that. But I'm just saying, like, I was very high on the first Horizon. I thought it was a very good, it was a very open, fresh experience. One thing I do recall from that first game was I remember being in a forest and I saw two robots going at it, and all of a sudden one of them hit the other.
That happens in that game? I didn't know that.
Huh?
2 robots going at it? I didn't know
Machines,
that happened.
whatever. 2 machines were going at it.
The other part of that sentence.
Yeah,
Going at it.
Oh, I meant battling each other. God damn it. Anyway,
okay.
Someone's got something else on the mind. So
that's how that works.
That's how that works. Anyway, so I saw two robots fighting each other, and all of a sudden one knocked one into me where I was hiding in my hiding spot, and then they both spotted me, and I thought that was so fresh in a game for the natural environment to cause something in the environment for me that would feel real, like truly real and natural. So I really liked that a lot.
Emergent gameplay, which is also in Breath of the Wild, but let's just pull forward with that.
Close. Don't even try to stand on your high horse. You got nothing to stand on here, buddy.
There isn't a high horse. It's a fact.
No, it's not.
Physics engine.
No facts. No facts.
The physics engine is perfectly. It creates emergent gameplay all the time, but most open worlds do. But yeah, those moments are cool when something that's very specific to your personal playthrough happens that probably didn't happen with anyone else. Yeah.
So yeah, going into the second one, I will admit I strained just like you guys. It's my thoughts of it is a little. I still think overall it's a better game than the first one, but it falters in ways it didn't falter before, and it improves in ways that it was worse in the first game. So like it's just a little better in my opinion. Like the new traversal I think is very wonky. It doesn't work like I think it was meant to, or triggered to supposed to how it would like to work. Some of it works awesome, but some of it is just so hard and bad. It's not good. But anyway, so I think I'm kind of in agreement with you guys. So that's our experience with those. So final thing, we go around the room. Oh, final thing, because I'm playing on Pro, it pops in a lot. There is a ton of pop in on the Pro. Just every level is just like I
really
things don't load all the way through, and it's okay, and I forgive it because I know it's like, okay, this was being compromised to be able to get on this thing. It doesn't break or anything like that, and there's nothing that makes me go, this is unplayable. But the visuals look really good when everything loads in, but there's a lot of loading that can happen in a level or even on a face in a scene
as well.
Yeah. So yeah, around the room.
Slightly better lot, but
yeah.
There is obviously that not issue, but there's some of that in PlayStation 5. The one thing that got me, I don't know if the rest of you experienced this, was within your bow and arrow. In certain situations, when you use your bow and arrow, you zoom through the what's there, and you see people behind like barriers and barricades, and then you fire your arrow, and your arrow hits the barricade, but the barricade's not there when you're zoomed in.
Oh, I haven't done
It's there when you're not zoomed in.
Oh, you had a Viz issue.
Weird.
Oh, that's a Viz issue.
Like that.
You didn't get one. No, I didn't run into Viz issues, unfortunately. With at least the bow and arrow. I ran into Viz issues, but not with the bow and arrow. All right, so around the room, just quickly, do you recommend people buy this game? Yes or no? Dan,
Yes,
go.
yes. Oh,
Yes, but a bit reluctantly than I would have thought before I played the game.
All right, Dan. I mean, sorry, Dan. Rafa.
yeah, totally. Like just a quick thing, like the reason you may think it's I don't know, it's unnecessarily this long is because in the beginning it gives you uh some things to look forward, and then it really takes a really long time until they get there again, and which is why it feels slow. And but if you're into any of the side stories and anything, those are good as well. Like it's not a bad game. So definitely, yeah, like it's a defining game for the console. It gives you an idea of what to expect next, but it's just not that big of an improvement over the first game, as you might expect.
Yeah.
Maybe the third game.
Evan.
Yeah, it's worth. I think it's worth a full purchase. As
Yeah,
many criticisms as I had, and I don't think it's anywhere near as good as the first game, and it's not going to be in even my top 5 games of what I played in 2022. But I mean, I played it for 80 hours, and even when it was a podcast game, when I mean, and that can be a good thing and a bad thing, and in a lot of ways, I think it's a bad thing with this game, especially with like a tentpole game from PlayStation. You want to call a tentpole game from PlayStation a podcast game? I don't think that's a good thing. But even so, like I like the gameplay loop again. It's so solid that, and if you like the first game, you will like the set. You might be disappointed by it in some aspects of it, but overall, I think if you put your money down and you play through it, you will be happy that you won't be disappointed or feel like you didn't get your money's worth.
Yeah,
I think.
I'm in agreement with you all. I'll probably say bye, and I think it's the sad part. I think we'll probably agree with this. It just didn't meet the expectation we wanted as the next step up from the first game. It really didn't meet that
Right.
expectation. It kind of just it did meet it in some ways, but it really faltered in some ways where it was kind of surprising because it was so good before, and why did and updating it they kind of made it worse. Uh, oh shoot, I actually disagree with you, Evan, though. Before we move on, I just was gonna say I don't think it is a podcast game, because I attempted to make it a podcast game for myself, and every time I hit a story beat I had to pause the thing I was was listening in the background, and it made it difficult to do both at the same time, especially if I was doing side quest and main quest things. If I was doing like bandit camps or something like that, or a cauldron, I was playing something in the background. So I think it's like a half podcast game. It's for the things the things you get in every open world game. It's an easy podcast section, but when you're doing the side quests and the main quest, I couldn't do a podcast because there's just I had to keep pausing. But anyway,
Yeah.
moving on. So we are actually going to dive into spoilers. So for the 2 people in chat, if one of you besides me, because I think I'm watching, so to watch the chat, so therefore,
Oh,
I
yeah.
think
I
Evan's
think the
the
other
other
one is
person.
me.
so
I think the other person's Evan, so
if
there's
we
no one
want to
else.
drop and stop listening or watching,
Okay.
we need to get off the twitch.tv/pixelpines. But if you're listening audio wise and you are wanting to not hear spoilers, go play the game. We all recommend it. Come on back and we are going to talk everything about it. So you have 1 second to hop off. All right, time's up. No, nothing is off limits, fellas, now. All right, so we're going to do a deep dive because I would say the plot is there's a lot of plot here. Too much plot is my opinion, and it's one of the things I think it faltered on. In the first game, there's only 2 plot lines. Now there's 3, and they're all way too damn complicated. But anyways, let's get into each of the plot lines really quickly. So we have the 3 storylines. We have restoring Gaia's subsystems and / building your team. So basically, we had to go get Demeter, Poseidon, and I forgot the pronunciation of this one. It's like Ether. or something.
Ether.
Oh, yes. Ether.
Yeah. And then in that process, Gaia getting all those elements would then be able to have the ability to capture Hephaestus, which is the one if you didn't play the DLC, Hephaestus is a big element in the DLC, which Hephaestus is the one that builds the robots basically. So
Justice for the rest of us.
yes, seriously. So yeah, let's talk about that storyline, and then it's building your team with the crew. We'll go over the individual crew members later, but just like thoughts on that specific plot line. Did it kind of make sense to you? What's you just shoot for the stars, whoever wants.
I'll start.
Okay.
Because he's got notes.
Sorry.
Because he's got notes.
Yeah, I got notes. No, not so many in this part. For me it was quite exciting because it gets you right into the meat. Like, okay, we're getting Gaia back. We're seeing some more of her. We're giving her all these other parts. We make her full again. I was really looking forward to see what happens when we finish getting all these parts, and then you get interrupted by the second storyline, which we'll get there as well, and it's this long detour until you finally get the last piece, and when you finally piece everything together, like, I mean, something happens, but it's not that amazing. It's not what you expected. It's more like okay, you know. Um, yeah, it started out good, but it kind of deflated towards the end.
I guess my question. I guess I'll frame it this way. I'll frame it as a question instead to make it a little easier for everybody. Of just, do you think, like, obviously this whole restoring Gaia's subsystems was the thing to take you to places, to collect things, to explore the world, but building the team in the process, like, was it ever fascinating about these subsystems and like going to the places where these subsystems were? Was there anything that was intriguing about that plot line at all in general, or for you as just a fetch quest? And then, like, at the same time, you have these people you're collecting while you're collecting these subsystems, and you do these side missions, but they really don't build up to something. They almost seem as if they build up to something like a Mass Effect 2, where it's like a loyalty mission you do for them, but it just gives you like equipment instead. Was that enough on that end?
It was predictable. It was like my main reaction to everything that happened in this part of the game was, wow, okay, that makes sense. Yeah, why not? Like, of course, we're going all these places to get all these things, but I didn't necessarily have a wow moment. Sure, the new machines you would come across that are new to this game were interesting to see. Like, wow, this is what's new. This is our new combat situations. I get to test all these new weapons and everything. But of course, that's part of the overall game. Um, some of the explanation Gaia gave in terms of each piece that she was missing, like, it was very interesting to hear how everything worked together, and get new info, especially get new info that built up on everything we knew previously, right? So I guess that was the best thing of this segment for me, like knowing more about the world, getting more context. Yeah, but in terms of gameplay, it was just fetch quest.
Um, I've got a curious question. Of which order did you guys do them in? Did you do them in level order, or did you decide if that sounded like the most interesting thing to get first? How did you go about doing those three missions?
Well, like I said, it was a burn for me, a slow burn of like losing interest. And because what I did was, and this was a bad mistake on my part, was I was doing everything. I was doing every side mission in the beginning. I was doing every fetch quest. I was doing every pit. I was doing all the stuff. And what ended up happening was I ended up so high level that I could do all of them at any order I wanted to.
Yeah, me too.
So
That's why I wondered
yeah.
what you
So
did
I
with
ended
them.
up just doing them in the order of the game dictated, just because the distance I had to travel, especially because I also was trying to I was trying to do them at the same time as the regular missions, as the side missions, and the side missions slowly get you further west as you get further on the loyalty missions. So I basically was just trying to like chart my map slowly west, basically, because I wanted to travel the least amount of distance between stuff because I didn't want to run around.
What about you, Rafa? Which order did you? Because this feels.
I think
What did you do in?
I think now I don't remember where each of these species were on the map, but I think I also made them based on interest because at first I wanted to go I wanted to clean the map from right to left, like everything, because I wanted to be efficient, so I didn't want to go back.
Mm-hmm.
But then, as we'll discuss later, the game, as opposed to Breath of the Wild, since we're comparing it to that, does a poorly job to let you do things in that contradicts the story order, right? So you may go to these places in whichever order you want, but if you're not the right level, uh, that will be difficult. But again, I ran into the same scenario as Mitch, where I was mostly way over the level required for all the other things as I moved to the west. Um,
Okay.
yeah.
What about you, Evan? Which one did you do first? Did you do the least level and went through, or did you do the highest one, or what did you do?
Basically, I think I did something similar to Rafa, where I would hit a massive city like Plainsong and do everything in the vicinity of that area, and then go to the next place and try to do everything in the vicinity of that area. I think it's just more about how I play games. Like, I actually don't care if I'm over leveled in games. I feel like if I worked towards that and I got to that point, it's almost like I feel it's earned. Um,
And,
So,
well, and I think
but-
to answer, to answer, I wasn't necessarily like that much over leveled. It was more the fact I was efficient of having the right equipment, and like
Yeah.
I constantly was making sure that every time I hit a new weapon store, I'm looking at everything that they have there. I'm checking to see like, oh, this one has frozen ones too. Well, but these frozen ones are more efficient, and it also has better piercing regular ammo. So I'll take the one I have of the frozen one, like, and I made sure basically by the end of the game, I had every single weapon type of ammo. So like I was never going to be in a situation I could not handle, which I think ended up turning into my benefit, which then leveled me up faster to the point where I was starting by the end of the game. I was pretty much like only one time did I feel like, wow, I'm a little overwhelmed, but then I tried it again and I just did a different strategy and it worked out better for me, but I never felt like I was behind the ball.
okay. The reason
I will. Oh, go ahead, Dan.
Sorry, I was only asked the question because I wanted to like feed it into how I did it. Was because I decided that I was like, oh, she's described all these things. These operating systems are obviously going to be important to do stuff. So let's go and do the ones that I find most interesting first. So I trekked all the way west, which was awesome because I went over the mountain range and like went like miles away from the map and did did the far one first, which was incredible. I loved everything about it. Like literally, I saw all these beasts I hadn't come into contact with first, and then I met the people out. I can't remember their names now.
Yep.
Out on in San Francisco, ended up turning out to be because of the land shift.
The Quen?
Alva, you met Alva.
I met Alva and was like, this is awesome. And then I got back and then discovered that was pointless. There was no reason. Like, me unlocking this thing does nothing. Like in my head, and I think it's because as we all know, obsessed with little real time strategy things. I thought, oh, maybe it'll be like I'll be able to like create my own like monster army for a little bit for like a tiny portion of the game, and I have to take on Rella like that. No, how wrong I was. So that was very disappointing. And then it just got, and then obviously the other ones were easier. However, I did find, weirdly, the one in the desert the hardest of the three, even though I was like, I'd done the other two first. I found that really odd. The one in the desert I found harder than the other two, which were higher level.
Why'd you find it
so
harder?
I thought that was really bizarre. I can't remember now. I just remember thinking, this is, I think it was supposed to be a level 16 or whatever, and I was like, I just found like the battle's harder. I found everything in it a bit harder to do. I just was like, a bit confused. I'm not really sure. I couldn't really put my finger on it because the others I kind of like whooshed through, and then that one I was like, oh, have they like artificially leveled this in the game so they're in the wrong order, or am I just being stupid? I'm probably just being stupid at the time. But yeah, no.
The game tends to like if you let yourself carried by the story, because actually like after a point I just followed the natural way of moving around the map, and for whatever reason, I don't know if that's the case for any of you as well, but I got to the desert last.
Yeah.
Like I was way past the first half of the game, and I still had the desert in fog, like on the map.
I didn't get to the desert for ages. I did the other two and then went to the desert last.
See, I'm shocked by you guys saying that because there's a tall neck in the desert that you have to take care of.
Yeah.
And so for one thing, like my objective is always it's tall necks, cauldrons, main mission, side mission. Basically, was my pecking order. So
because of the tall neck you couldn't get to without I was just like, I'm gonna. Well, what about that tall neck? I probably can't get to either. So I kind of gave up looking for tall necks.
Oh, I knew that the one's there, and I was like, bet you $20 you fly to it. And then I was like, okay, I'll go do the other ones because it had the little lock on it too. So I was like, okay, clearly it's a story beat. And so I was like, I will wait until I learn to fly to go get that one. Because I looked at the tall neck, I was like, there's no other way you get there unless you fly on top of it.
Obviously,
there's just no other way.
When I was playing Mitch, I didn't know you could fly. Like I hadn't been spoiled at that point.
Oh, I didn't get spoiled. I didn't get that spoiled either. The game spoiled that for me because like there's no how else were you going to get on top of the tall neck? I was like,
yeah, true.
Get a jetpack.
Yeah, seriously, like she's gonna get a freaking jetpack.
Rafa spoiled it for me.
Yeah, I apologize.
It's in the grand scheme of things,
Rafa?
it actually doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter because you barely get to do it anyway.
I played the whole second half of the game flying. Literally, I was flying for about 40 hours of that game.
I mean, I guess if I'm gonna go finish all my side quests and stuff, like if I'm gonna go platinum, like yeah, I'll fly. But to be honest, I won't be flying. Like I only flew for 4 hours.
So you know why that's
maybe
funny?
less.
Because obviously, I got to the flying bit and knew the next mission, and this is probably what we're in the game for me. Actually, I'm blaming Evan partly, but because I still haven't got the fucking platinum, and I'm still sitting here upset with myself about that. So I will need to go back and do it. But I got to when you got the flying mission, I then went back and did all the side quests and just flew. So I spent another like 5 hours or 6, or maybe not 10. I did it just flying around, clearing everything up.
That's smart.
And,
I wish I would have done that. Rafa spoiled it for me, and I could have done that. Waited to do the side quest, but me and my weird thing where I had to finish everything in the immediate area. By the time I got the Sky Drifter ability, like I didn't have that many side quests left over. So I think you did it the better way. Although, like, how many players are going to know that?
That's okay.
The problem being is I was kind of at that point burnt out of the gameplay loop. So by the time did the final mission to finish the game, I was like kind of done.
For sure.
So I just was like, so actually, I wish I'd just finished the game and had been like Mitch and not like flown that much. You know what I mean? I was like, it was like so like loved the idea of flying. I was like, let's fly everywhere. And at that point, by the end, I was just kind of done.
To be honest, the flying wears off pretty quickly for me because there's not much to it. It's not like there's flying combat, which would be way more interesting. But anyway, we gotta move on because we got so much more to talk about. Yeah. Which is we got an entire civil war happening around us fellas. It is the Tanakh civil war between Chief Haruko and the rebel leader Regalia, which basically one of the questions I'm going to ask you eventually, but we'll get to that in a second. But also that Regalia is gaining her power basically of taking over the machines because Silence is helping her because Silence has his own mission that he wants completed. We'll get to Silence in a minute when we talk about the Far Zenith. But my first question for everybody, did you save or did you kill Regalia?
Save.
Wow. Okay. So this is fascinating. I have not heard a person say kill yet. Like I've listened to so many spoiler casts. Everybody's saving her. I saved her too. Don't worry about it. Like I'm not in the. It sounds.
You know why? You know why? You know I think this is the reason why everyone saved her. Because deep rooted in me, and this goes back to those first 3 missions, is I wanted to believe that they built a game where my actions had impact. And actually, when I finished the game, I realised maybe the Regala thing would have done, but actually, I realised that no, there wasn't that deep a layer. Like the fact that the side missions for him to go and get his arm, I was thinking if I don't do that before I do the final mission, will he not be able to fight in the final mission? You know what I mean? That was my mentality. Like I'm doing these side missions so that they are more overpowered for the final mission, but that was not impacting at all.
Yeah,
no, it's nothing. That's what disappointed me with the game.
This is the one weird thing about. Well, this is the one weird thing about the game. This is the only time ever in the series where it gave you a choice like this, and basically throughout the game you do get some choices, but the choices are mainly just dialogue options that lead to the same thing in the end. It's just how do you want to express yourself. But I think no one chose to kill Regalia, at least like the vast majority of people. I actually would love to see the percentages. But anyways, I think the reason why is because that's what Aloy wouldn't do. Like Aloy wouldn't kill Regalia. Like that's just not in her nature, like based off the character we've grown with throughout the entire game. And so the fact that the game gave you the option to save or kill her made it it felt very strange and very foreign to me. And I was like, but why give me the option when we all are kind of in agreement of how we feel like Aloy would make the choice?
Yeah.
Yeah, it seems like one of those things where maybe they tried to experiment with more dialogue trees and giving the player the choice to choose a specific what was it? Choose your heart, choose your brain, or whatever the third option was. They wanted to give you some sort of control of Aloy, but like you're saying, Mitch, like at this point in the game, she's her own person. It's not an avatar that you are inserting your own personality into and making your own character. So maybe at one point they thought that they were going to have more of those options, like a Mass Effect, that you're going to create your own Shepard or whatever. And maybe they realized it doesn't make sense with a character who's already fully fleshed out like Aloy. And so they dialed it back. But they put there's like three specific parts in that game where you actually get to decide what she says and then kill or save Regalia, and it just doesn't work, and it's actually not that important to the story. So yeah, it is one of these weird things where like maybe they dialed it back in the end and realized like that's not something that is necessary to what they're trying to do here. Again, one of these open world things where like you don't have to do all that stuff.
So I did look up what the alternative was, like just what happens if you choose to kill her. So, the scene that she does where she sacrifices herself if you save her. Well, there is no alternative scene in regards to like another cast member like sacrificing themselves. That scene just never happens in
when they rush the Far Zenith.
yeah, and then there's
home
like
base.
trapped with a bunch of monsters. I mean, with a bunch of machines. There is no like that scene just doesn't happen. There's like no.
I think you're missing out on an
there's,
interesting
like,
moment
there's no
in the
other
game if
character
you
that
choose
chooses.
to kill her.
Yeah, there's
Stupid.
if you choose
This
a
is the
killer,
reason-
nothing changes really.
In games, this is the reason why I
this is
choose
my issue with this game.
one.
The fact that my choice, don't give me choices if they don't have impacts in the game. Sorry, like then that's where I think it is weak. Like they're giving you that choice and doesn't, apart from one cutscene, there's no difference. They should have made it harder. In the same way with your like side missions to gain your like team. There's no point of this team because actually it makes no difference in the end, and that's kind of what pissed me off actually. The more I think about it, the more I'm like, why are you giving us these options and growing this team if actually, if I didn't do this, it would make no difference.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I save people in games by default because otherwise I don't trust games to allow me to make meaningful decisions. Like I'm at this point I'm used to the fact that most of these choices are cosmetic. So because of that, just by default I save everyone in case I'm cutting content out of the game by killing them, right?
Sure.
Because there are so few games that actually do something with those choices. And right as you said, like I was right. They just cut that cutscene. Of course, it was a cutscene, but it was content. So if I kill her, I would not have seen that character development. So
Yeah,
And you miss out on a bunch of dialogue in the home base before the battle. If you go downstairs to where Elizabeth the clone was, Regala's down there, and you can talk to her for I don't know a solid 6-7 minutes. That's completely off the board.
yeah, it's off the board.
Yeah, she's like, yep.
I think, and that's my issue. I think like I don't know. I just think if they're gonna start a game like a story device the way they did, and Rafa's right. I play enough games where they don't. There's just a cosmetic thing. But I think that's my issue. And that's probably why this game felt a bit like blah. For me, towards the end, was because actually I was expecting something a bit more, and them to take the risk to do something a bit more meaningful with the storyline and go. Actually, if you didn't go and do the side mission to get his arm, he wouldn't be as effective in battle. He might even die. You know what I mean? And actually have my missions, that final mission, because actually or make it harder at least. Oh, they couldn't fight off those things they've been holding back from you. So now you have more attacking you. I don't know. They didn't have to make too many meaningful changes to make my decisions feel like they meant something. And I think if they'd done that, I'd have been like, oh wow, that's really cool. And I would have had a better opinion of the end of the game.
I feel like you're just in my mind. I guess I never ever thought they were gonna go in that direction, and so the only way
I never thought they were going to make me build a team. So I never thought they were going to make me build a team of people and have a base. So when they did that, I was like, oh, they might go in this direction. Like they didn't do that in the first game. They didn't have a base and a team. So why have they done that? Why have they made me build a team and a base? It was pointless. What was the point of that base apart from collecting little drones that I could look at pretty maps? That was the only point of that base. It was completely pointless.
Well, the point of the people, I think, is to just no. Thanks, Keith. Keith messaged us in the chat. But I think overall, basically, I think the point of the team was basically to show the point of Aloy sharing her world with others instead of keeping it all to herself, and opening opening people's minds to what is real. Because as we see, as we get into what the third game probably will be, she's going to need the help to open other people's minds to what reality is coming, or what kind of world they're really living in, because these people are living in tribal type lives, and they need to understand there's technology that's way beyond their imagination available to them. They just need to be able to be open to it. And so I think that's part of the reason why, and it helps her grow as a person too, instead of being so stuck in her way. of finding a better way to communicate with people that don't understand or don't think the same way that she does. So I think there is meanings in the character development in the team. I totally get your point on like not having it be like you're wishing it was something like a Mass Effect type thing, where Mass Effect 2, where like everything mattered into the final mission and going into all that kind of stuff. But it just never felt, as we played through the game, it wasn't going in that direction. So I didn't have that expectation for it.
But I would say I didn't have the expectation to until they had the base. Until they had the base, and I was building things. I was supposed to be bringing things back for the base, and I know that obviously there was a plot device that then moved it away from that, which is fine. And then I built a team. At that point, I thought then I should do the side quests because it's probably going to matter. Because otherwise, what's the point of them?
You do the side quests and they do matter. They give you really good equipment. What's equipment?
Do they? Like, I don't even remember.
Yeah.
Well,
the importance of any of this stuff.
A lot of the times it's weaponry, like equipment weaponry. A lot of the times it's like certain types of bows that shoot certain types of arrows you can't get at hunter sellers type thing. But like I even like had that. I didn't have that expectation when we built the base, and then as we were doing the side missions, as soon as I finished one loyalty mission and I got really good gear, I was like, okay, that's the reward for doing it. I knew that it was not going to apply to something like the final mission type thing.
Which in which of my cases is that's why I'm disappointed by the game, because it's basically a hashed copy of the first game with a few improvements, but actually the things they put in that I thought this is going to be awesome just fell flat, in my opinion. That's what I'm saying.
Big question, because I don't recall it correctly, and I don't want to be wrong. Does Kotalo, after you get his arm, after you make the arm for him, does he use it?
He does. He says he only uses it in that combat scenario with you during the loyalty mission, because he says, I want to be prideful and not use it because I want to use what I actually have. It was a way for him to like conquer his own doubt of himself of being a warrior again.
Which is actually
I love how Rafa says it's a cop out, and Evan's like, I think it was great character development. It's great.
Well, the thing is, Rafa, you haven't done the quest, right?
No, I did.
Oh, you did.
He just wanted to make sure he didn't get it wrong. That's all.
Yeah.
Oh, that like he uses it in the final battle or something like that.
He didn't use it in the final battle, to my knowledge.
I do like the character turn where he says he comes to terms with the loss of his arm after getting the prosthetic robotic arm. Basically, he realizes, actually, you know what? I'm running towards something that I'll never get back. Mm-hmm. And even though I'm less of a warrior in the eyes of the Tenakth, like this is who I am now, and I've overcome this, basically this thing that is supposed to make me less of a person and less of a warrior. So I do appreciate that it did turn around. He's not like, okay, I'm fully upgraded, I'm the Terminator now, let's go. He realizes, you know what? Actually, maybe I don't need the thing that I thought that would make me whole again. I do appreciate that.
Yeah,
That's great. But to me, it's also a cop-out because it removes the opportunity for them to make two scenarios. Because when they gave me this quest,
Sure.
like, okay, I will prioritize this quest line. Although again, it was locked behind the main story missions. Like you couldn't do this side quest fully until you were in a certain position in the main story, which again annoyed me. But of course, I checked a walkthrough because I wanted to get that done before the end of the game, because I was kind of seeing it like with more and more people gathering in the base. Okay, it will be this huge battle. Everyone will participate, and I want Kotalo to be at his best.
Yep.
And I get my guy his arm, and he doesn't use it.
What a waste of time. Agreed. I'm with Rafa there. I thought it was pissed me off.
Hey, I see the reasoning, but that's selfish. Like you're putting your pride in front of having the full capacity of saving your friends. Like that's selfish. That's selfish.
I would disagree because he might have found that he might have found the arm compromising. Like you could tell that the arm was not as efficient as a regular arm, and
But
so
more
like during
efficient than
combat,
no arm.
He spent more time having an arm than not having one.
Yeah, exactly.
yeah, but it's not the
He's
same
more
arm.
compromising with no arm.
He has to spend the time relearning that new arm. It's not like you're just I'm 100%. I'm back to one. It's like it is a completely different thing. Like it's no matter what, he's going to be compromised. But the one thing, if he's like I can rely on, is knowing how this arm works and not having to worry about how this arm works, so I don't compromise hurting my friends because I'm trying to worry about this other arm in the time of combat when I can just worry about the arm I know.
I know.
He couldn't adapt to the arm, but he adapted right away to the focus. Like he learned how to read, he learned how to operate the focus.
No, I think the idea is he thought he needed the arm, but when he got it, he realized he doesn't. So he made that decision once he had it in his hands.
It was a flawed device, so that it didn't matter if you did it or not.
Well, we will just be disagreed down the middle. Let's move on because clearly, by not talking about the Tanakh Civil War, it's a boring war that has nothing really fascinating about it. So let's move on to the actual interesting thing, which is the Far Zeniths.
Oh, we've got something to say about the Civil War.
Yeah, just a sentence there. The Civil War was the third of the game I would not have included. I would have made it DLC, although it wouldn't have been DLC because it's not that interesting. But
I would, yeah. I mean, I think they did the best they could to involve this Civil War by having something else happening during that time, but. To be honest, Silence is kind of a thrown away character in this one, and I think it was just a way for him to have reason to be in the world, which is like, to be honest, he should have not even been in the world in the first place. I honestly think Silence should have died in the last game. But anyway,
or should have been kept for the third game.
Yeah, like it was a plot device to have Silence stay in the game, and I didn't like that. So it wasn't my cup of tea. So the Far Zeniths. Now we get to futuristic people here. This is weird. This is where actually at first I thought I was gonna put the game down, and then I said, "Holy motherfucking cow!" There is, what's her name? Oh Jesus, Trinity. Carrie-Anne Moss. I heard her voice and I was like, "What the fuck is going on?"
Mitch.
But anyway,
Matrix #1.
I know.
Forgot.
Shut up! I
please.
remembered.
The woman who played Trinity.
Anyway,
unbelievable.
So basically, what happened was they leave Earth. It was told that the project failed for them leaving Earth. It exploded, but that was a lie. They made it off Earth. They ended
By the
up
way, the foreshadowing makes it very obvious. Like, this is going to come back around.
Especially when
the
it was
ship
the
did not
first
blow up.
freaking level of the game too.
Yeah. They planted the seed early.
Yeah, so they leave. They end up mastering a lot of technology to make themselves basically live forever with shields. And then they found a way to live. They lived there a lot of the time. I did a lot of snooping around about that time period because I was fascinated. So apparently a lot of them lived in virtual reality. Living in actual reality was not a thing for them when they got to the new planet. And so they ended up creating this thing called Nemesis. And this is the reason why they came back to Earth. Nemesis is the one that is causing Hades to go bonkers in the first game. You thought it was the Zeniths, but it's actually Hades. And you find out it's a failed mind uploading experiment where they uploaded all their subconsciousness into this. That's the weird part. They don't really explain this very well of what the frick this thing is. But anyways,
I just think it's like Skynet from Terminator.
But like
that's what I was like, it's like okay, great original idea, guys.
But it's like a literal
Skynet.
It's like a literal being though. I don't get how it's like physical manifestation has happened, but whatever. But it's coming to Earth. It scared the Zeniths. They came to Earth. They want to basically steal Gaia, leave Earth, go implement Gaia somewhere else so that the planet they'll go to is habitable, but and then just keep running from Nemesis. So now Nemesis is coming and the world is doomed. But anyways, what is your just thoughts on just this VAR? We'll get to like the characters next in a minute. But what is just your thought on this storyline? Like, this is the one that went from left field that I don't know. I am still in between whether I hate it, but I don't hate it.
Put it like this: I'm very, very concerned about the third game. From that storyline, I think it's going to be fucking terrible.
Maybe.
I would have preferred if they just got on their ship and flown away. Like, not them all, all that group of like 8 of them just going, yeah, we'll take Gaia and off we'll go. And I'd be like, cool. And then there could be a new world with new interactions or whatever. Just if these like people with like super suits who were like highly technological couldn't defeat this thing, like whatever they come up with to defeat it in the third game is going to be out of fucking BS. Sorry.
But technically, you found a way to beat them, so.
Yeah, but they were just I kind of see that, but I'm just
that's the only thing I hold my hat on, being like, I guess they could win possibly because they did beat them, and they're impossible to beat, and Silence figured it out. So
I suppose so.
Rafa, get on this. What do you think?
Aloy will build an orbital space
cannon
Nemesis, and it will crap out. So I can't form any thoughts on the Nemesis. I think it's interesting. I'll have to wait until the next game to see what they do with it. It's a bit of a complicated thing to wrap my head around now. But in what concerns the Zeniths, I was like, when they first dropped, I liked their character design. I liked the rainbow shield. I thought that, like, wow, amazing shaders, really, really beautiful textures and everything. Like, the presentation was nice. I was like, what are these people? You know, I was like, let's go. That's the moment that the game clicked. You know, okay, I'm in. I'll go all the way to the end to find as much as possible about them. And when I did, I've got some issues. I've got some issues with it because, of course, you live for, so they are not descendants. They are the same people that left Earth. And in my mind, maybe this is nitpicking, but because I'm constantly thinking about stuff like this, like what would a human being turn into if it just lived for 1,000 years, right? And the fact that they still behaved like I don't know, West Coast,
like stereotypical characters that are written into a plot line of being like, Muscle, go take care of the girl for me. I'm gonna play around with you. It's like, dude, you should be the most efficient thing in the like. He literally, who is his name? It's Eric. Eric grabs Aloy by the freaking neck in the final level, and how does he not just snap her neck? Like, for God's sake,
it's a video game and you can't.
It's a video game and you can't. But the thing is, this guy is. If you're going to convince me that these are beings that are thousands years old, they are efficient, and they show that they're pretty efficient. But God, the guy is naive, and I don't know if that's just like 1,000 years makes you still naive. I don't know, but.
It establishes him as kind of a sadist, so maybe he was prolonging her pain. He's like, I'm going to slowly crush your.
But the thing was, he lost his shield. You'd think he would be some slight concern to the point where he wouldn't show as much like leniency in regards to that.
I think at that point, you've been invincible for 1,000 years. Just because you lose your shield, you probably, in your mind, you don't necessarily think that changes anything. But like Rafa's saying, they don't explore that enough. Like, how would a mind change, a human change if they lived for that long?
Right.
Accent, 1,000 years. Your English develops, like both vocabulary and accent develops into something else. Like you find new ways to use vocabulary, like stuff like this. Also, gesticulation, like body movement, behavior, stuff like this. It was practically the same. You know,
Yeah, I see what you mean.
I know it sounds like I'm nitpicking, but I also think I'm not. They were just regular people, you know. So I was a bit disappointed they didn't go the extra mile to make them really stand out as human beings, like these guys that live for so
Or truly
long with
truly advanced, basically.
truly advanced with all these technological opportunities, with all these knowledge, you know. Um, so yeah, that's where I went a bit down on their concept. Still cool, but I think they played it safely and didn't didn't take some opportunities there.
While we're
This
talking about the
is
Zeniths, we'll talk about their characters too at the same time, and I'll just break down the characters really quick, and then I'll hop back to you, Dan. We have Gerald, who's the leader. We got Eric, who's called the muscle, because he does all the combat stuff. He's the one that killed Varl. We'll get to that. Don't worry. And then we got Tilda, who was friends with Elizabeth. Seems as if they were a thing. I got the romance vibes between.
For a time, they were a couple.
They were a couple
for at
or
least a
something,
moment.
more than friends. Like friends with benefits, who knows? But whatever. But basically, she helps Aloy, because she basically has her own agenda, which then turns the tables and ends up being your final boss, because she wants basically Aloy to go with her to the next planet and say, "I won't leave you again." Like Rose and Jack at the Titanic. Anyways, Dan, go. What's your? Do you also, while you're talking about it, I want to know your favorite Zenith. Do you have a favorite?
Oh, actually, it was going to really be really annoying and completely like go off on a tangent. But
Oh,
I'll
go
come
on the
back to that
tangent and
later.
go on a tangent and add your
Okay.
favorite Zenith. That's
Because-
all I
Because
want.
we're talking about people who live for like hundreds of years. I was really disappointed. I think it was in the desert where you didn't see the crazy scientist bloke. Like she just walked in there. She like shot him or like stabbed him or whatever she did with him, and then walked out again. I was expecting some like awesome like fight scene, but never mind. You know, when it went on fire. Was that in the casino? I think it was. I'm getting that wrong.
I think
like
you're
the
wrong. I'm not sure which scene you're talking.
Was that in
Are you talking
the
about when?
desert?
Are you talking about the one where the Zenith that died using the shield machine for the first time that broke?
No. The crazy scientist bloke, where you went down and down, and then you discovered more things that he was like testing on. When they like, oh no, not it wasn't there. It was in San Francisco. In San Francisco.
Yeah.
When you went into not
Oh,
in the desert, in
Ted.
San Francisco.
Ted
Basso.
Ted Faro.
Farrow, that's it.
Yeah.
Ted Farrow.
We'll
Did you just?
Did you Ted Lasso?
No, it's Ted Fasso.
You totally Ted
Farrow.
Lasso Ted Faro. But
I definitely did Ted Lasso. Ted
don't
Farrow.
worry about the
Yeah.
crazy monster of Ted Faro. We will get to that because we are going to
Okay,
talk
then
about
I'll come
Alpha.
back.
We'll get there.
Okay, I'll come back to the Zenith then. My favourite Zenith. Well, I was a bit annoyed you didn't get to meet the others. They all just got killed. Like they all like turned up for like one scene. It's like, oh, they're all dead then. Great. No.
I mean,
I
how
didn't like any
enjoyable
of
what?
them.
How enjoyable was it that they lost their shields and then here comes the machines? They just rip half of them apart.
I know that was quite comical. I didn't really like any of them. Really, I felt like it was like really unoriginal, like bad guy.
Okay.
They kind of reminded me of like in Twilight, you know, like the evil, like the what they called in Twilight, the evil people who live in Rome. Can't think what they're called. And my brain
Like
is not
that
working.
Covenant group or something like
Yeah,
that.
the Covenant group,
whatever.
whatever the Covenant group is, he kind of reminded me of that. They all have like special, like you had like the strong guy, the clever guy, the science one. It's just like, yeah, okay. Like I feel like I've seen this like 1,000 times before. I was just like, yeah, I didn't really find them that interesting. And then even less interesting. So when they lost their shield, they just got annihilated by machines. I was like, well, they were pointless. No wonder they got destroyed by that thing that's coming towards us.
All right, Evan, what do you think about the Zeniths?
initially I love the idea when they first show up because you're wondering like, oh, what is the hook of this second game? One of the first hooks of the first game is the mystery of what happened to the world. Why are there machines populating
Yeah.
the world? And that's why you keep playing this game. Aside from the game loop, like you want to figure this out. Like okay, uh, we're trying to save the world from the blight, which is this very like we're not really sure how that works. We have to fix Gaia. It's just not. They explain the technology stuff to you. You don't really necessarily know how it actually works for terraforming and all this type of stuff. And then finally they show up. You're like, oh, like Rafa was saying, oh, okay. I did not expect this. I'm immediately interested to find out more about these people. And then 20 hours later, I didn't see them for 20 fucking hours. I'm like, you are so focused on this open world aspect of this game that this is the point where that goes against making this game more interesting, where I'm doing all of these I'm trying not to swear here, these side quests that are almost exactly all the same. Oh, there was a search party that went out and they're not back yet. Can you check on them, Aloy? And you go out and they're all dead. And then you fight a robot and you come back and you get a spear. Then you go to the next one like, oh, my mom and dad went to the river to get some water and they're gone. And then you go out and you find out they're fucking dead by the river. I swear, sorry. And then you come back and it's like, why didn't you take the opportunity to, that it's an open world and people might not get to the next main mission for several hours. Why don't you take out some of those side quests that are so superfluous, or that like they're just kind of copy and paste. It's like these trials and tribulations, these really kind of small compartmentalized stories of the tribes themselves. And why don't you pepper in stuff that has to do with Zenith, where Aloy is uncovering secret bases or some technology. There's audio files that you learn way more about the Zenith, so that when you finally actually do meet them and talk to them, which you don't, you only talk to a one of them that does a massive exposition dump at the end of the game. Why didn't you pepper that stuff in so when you finally do confront them, like there's more there, you learn more about them, you learn why they are like they are,
Or maybe
when
like
they lived on
Tilda,
Sirius for
like,
1,000 years.
joins with you earlier in the game, so that gives you an opportunity.
sure.
She could give you like hints to areas that there's like, hey, we have a secret base here, you should take a look at it. Like in that way you could like learn more about the Zenith that way, because she would be like, I'm not going to tell you everything because I don't want you to kill me. Sure.
Like she has some of her own. She's hiding specific information from you for a reason. You get to know her a little better. It's not just you standing across from each other on this ridiculously long table with like figs and nuts and stuff in the middle, and you ask her every question under the sun in a 15-minute period. It's more you get to know her through side missions. You're walking through the jungle as you're talking to each other and building some rapport.
But
you're
then
asking her questions because you're generally curious.
You can also build that distrust too at the same time,
Yeah.
where you may have
Sure.
like where you have
can
like
play
that
so
slight.
much more with this idea.
Because then when she does that flip of saying "come with me," it's not as like, I already knew you were gonna do this because like we threw this all at the end of the game. If you did it earlier, if we were earlier and hanging out, and I learned to trust you more, and you did that flip, it would be a little more surprising.
Later in the game.
Yeah,
like 10 hours later.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I would have been a little more surprised.
Oh fuck! I actually. So, because initially, like, you are extremely suspicious of any Zenith character. And then what if the game actually put you on her side? Like, no, she's legit. She wants to change. She's lived for 1,000 years. She's realized her wrongs. And she's with you on your quest to make everything right. She's trying to right her wrongs as well. And you totally believe in that. The game makes you believe that. And then later, like, oh no, she's actually doing it for her own selfish reasons, and that whole kind of flip would be more impactful. They don't do enough with that stuff, and it took me so long for the Zenith to come back into the story. And I know that's an issue with open world games because they give you the choice to do whatever you want and tackle the missions how you see fit, but it just got to the point where fucking Jeff Bezos gets shot in the back. Like, I never even said a single word to that guy. Like, I want to know about these characters.
Well,
all I did was learn from Tilda from the exposition dump. It's a huge missed opportunity. I think it was super disappointing to me.
No,
I think it's super interesting, and they don't tell you enough about, like, serious and the and also sorry, I know I'm going. I'll finish very quickly. And Mitch said every time, Evan, you say you're going to finish very quickly, you can't, you fucking over explain shit for 15 minutes. But I swear to God, this is true. I think it would have been more interesting if this was the descendants of the initial like super billionaire rich, because as Rafa was saying, like if you live on another world for so long, like your culture would develop so differently. You would develop different ways to talking and mannerisms. Imagine if this was like the 8th generation of a world, right, that lived on a completely different planet. They come back to Earth completely different. Like they don't know about Earth. They don't know about how people developed here. And there's this like very big, they're humans. They share the same DNA, but there's a complete disconnect between the characters because they developed in 2 completely different areas. And I think that would have been something that would have been way more interesting to explore instead of like Jeff Bezos injected his arm with like super nanomachines that kept him alive for 1,000 years.
Yeah,
right, sorry.
No, I get what you mean. And I think one of the more fascinating things that when I was going to build off of you for a quick second, and then we'll have to move off the Zenith, which is basically the making Tilda more interesting was like you could even do the flip when not just the flip of Tilda, but the flip of Aloy, like the distrust of her own side mission that she made that Tilda started to catch on when she asked what was it? It was Katalo and Alva to go do something else while they were going to go invade the Far Zenith base. It would have been even more interesting. And this is like an easy missed opportunity as well, is she shouldn't have shown her cards like that to Tilda, because it would have been a smart and interesting way to see Tilda when she noticed that Aloy never trusted her in the first place and flipped it on her. And it would have been like Tilda trying to put the flip on Aloy, but Aloy also put the flip on Tilda, where it's like Aloy showed her cards, so Tilda already knew that she was already suspicious. And it's like, okay, well then you kind of just lose the act of surprise there. But anyway, moving on from the Zenith, let's just talk about the team, because there's some interesting things about the team. Let's talk about Varl for a quick minute, because for a hot minute, I was like, one, are they really going to kill the one black character? The one black guy that they really like build upon? Are they really going on that trope? They did, and they did it really rough, because no offense, I really never liked Varl. I never liked Varl as a character at all.
Well, I found the whole thing weird, because like she was like, "Go away, Varro," and then he like turned up. No, leave me alone, Varro. And she gets further, right. And then he turns up again, and she goes, "No, Varro, I want to do this by myself." And then he arrives for the 3rd time, and it's like, well, thank God he's now like dating this other chick, because otherwise he's just a fucking stalker.
Not only does he turn up the 3rd time and help her out, and then she finally goes, "Oh yeah, I will take your help," and he's like, "Sorry, I'm banging this other chick right now, so that's not happening."
I want to discuss that. So was it just me, or in the beginning of the game it felt like there was something going between him and Aloy until he met Zoe?
I think he always wanted something with Aloy, because he's from the first game. He's from your tribe in the first game. He was the one that was at the entrance that led you access into the entire open world in the first game. I think his mom was the leader of the entire warrior tribe. The warrior tribe. She's the leader of the Nora.
Do you guys remember that from the first time you played it? Because when I started the second game, I was like, "Who is this guy?" I have no recollection.
To be frank, I played the first game, and then I also played the DLC for the first time. I played the DLC for the first time like a month before the game came out. So I would have not remembered if I hopped in cold. But yeah, I did think he wanted something with her, and then finally when I didn't know if she was saying like yes, like to being, because then also does she have a thing with like, it's weird, like I don't like putting her in this box of being like, does she have a thing with people, but it seems like everyone wants to get with her, and then with her, like, what's his name? Yes, Aaron, which is the entirely useless character.
Aaron got like hammered at the beginning of the game because he was like gutted that she was like leaving him. And I was like, what is this I don't remember that love line from the first game.
Oh,
I was
it's so
confused.
weird. It's like everyone wants to get with Aloy, and then Aloy goes like, "Yeah, I could use your help," and then it somehow like reads as a signal to everyone else of being like, "Oh yeah, she wants to get with them," and it's like I feel like that's the wrong interpretation you want to do with this. It's just rough.
Yep.
Was Aaron in the first game
Yes.
interested in Aloy?
Yes.
Yeah.
Very much so. He hit
Yeah, he
on her
was.
in the first scene he was in with her.
The first thing, yeah, he did.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
And then
he was hard hitting on her, pretty hardcore.
because to me, I don't remember much from the first game, but in this game, he seemed like this really loyal friend who was uninterested, that would just hang around and help everyone. And in my notes, I nicknamed him Human Golden Retriever. Yeah, because that's what it was
Rafa,
for.
You know what I labeled him
What-
as? I labeled him as does nothing.
Yeah, Rafa. The only by the time he got to the base, he was that thing. But that first too long opening, in my opinion, like when he was like drunk on like the oat cart, or whatever. Like it's like you were never together, mate. Grip. I was like, what is this issue?
Yeah, I don't know either. I totally agree with you. I don't know what is with like at least Katalo did not have like this like it came off as like I have a crush on you. At least like it was and that actually and that's why I actually love his storyline even more because his storyline has a plot line that has nothing to do with Aloy and like seeming like he has to want to get with her. And it's
Aloy
so
brought all the boys to the yard.
Jesus
Yeah,
Christ.
damn right.
It's so strange and I don't and this is where it's like this is where
But if you notice,
the writing got worse.
Every single side character loves Aloy because then what's her name from San Francisco? Because
No. I disagree. I push back in regards to love. Not necessarily. I think each character finds something in Aloy that they gravitate to and admire and want to be.
Right.
It just happens those two people that we mentioned seem to be the ones that want to get with her. But can we before we get to the other character, can we just get to the death of Varl? Because I'm just curious on everyone's thoughts on it really quick because it is like supposed to be this big death, this moving force because Zoe is now pregnant with his baby, and all of a sudden it's like, oh, okay, you're pregnant, congrats. But like that didn't really. And I don't know if Aloy looked butthurt. I don't know. I couldn't tell. I was trying to figure it out because I couldn't. Because I was like, is there something there? Is she jealous of this baby? I don't know. But anyway, go ahead, Ralph.
They moved on so quickly from that. Like it was okay, so like it was as everyone knew, like, okay, right, this is the part of the current thing where someone dies. Okay, so it was Varl who died. Okay, I see, but now we move on, like it felt like every other character expected that to happen, at least someone to die, and then they just moved on. I like to talk a bit about Varl. I thought he was basic, he was a stale character, like he was so predictable. But now that we've been talking romance and how he did a 180 on Aloy and went with Zoe, like YOLO.
That's YOLO.
I mean,
Varl.
That's
YOLO.
That's realistic. You normally don't see that in media, but that's a very normal and common thing. You're interested in someone, they don't have the same, they don't share your feelings. You're not like with some people you really don't want to waste your time. So, oh, here's so you switch the flip, you go there, it worked. They made a baby. Like good for him. He's smart.
Well,
He's smart.
He's dead. Not good for him. He's dead now.
and dead. Yeah.
So I do want to just want to say one quick thing is like I know I said the quote of being like they had to kill the one black character, which I do think is still like in bad taste. I do give the game credit though that they probably have the most diverse characters in general, not just of your team, like of the tribes. I see a very diverse group of people. I love to see games reflect that more often, because I think it was very diverse. I just hated that they had, of all the characters they killed, it had to be the black guy. It just follows the trope so hardcore. But anyways, Dan, go ahead.
I was a bit like, when he died. I was like, what's the point of his death? Like, I feel like he didn't really, like, I don't know, he wasn't really doing anything particularly apart from like gonna go farm some land with Zoe and his new kid, like, and you're like killing him off. All right, fair enough. You're gonna make it orphan another child. Fair play to you, Sony. Fair play. But I kind of agree with you, Mitch. Like, it just was like, really, you're killing that character? I don't know. It just didn't really sit well with me. And I think because we didn't really see the Far Zeniths very often, it just seemed a bit random. I feel like if we'd had lots of fights against them, I'd kind of got it more. Like, I felt like it was that fight, and then it was like the end game fight. And like Evan said, I think they should have been speckled throughout the game, which I think maybe then would have made that more impactful, perhaps, because we managed to beat them a few times. And now, when it really mattered, one of our characters, I don't know.
I think the issue really comes into play with this is that Varl, if you did main story plot, you don't see him very much. You don't get a lot of him. The character is not anything that is memorable, remarkable, something that sticks with you. Obviously, right now, the only thing stuck with my brain is that he had a thing for Aloy. She didn't have a thing for him, and he found somebody else. Good for him, as Raph says. But
yeah, agreed.
But it doesn't. But there was nothing that really stood out to him that like defined the character that really made me like. I think this is the problem with the entire cast of your team is even the like. I would say the only one that really felt as if I understood the character better was Kitalo. The only character. Besides that, I felt all the other side characters, their loyalty missions, meant nothing in the larger scope of things. If they killed Kitalo and I was forced to do his side missions as main missions, I probably would feel something more. Or if they cut off his other arm, oh my god, like make him double, like no arms on two ends, like I would probably feel more emotion for it because of like how much he like found resolution in having just one arm, and now he has to try to find resolution in two. But anyway, I'm digressed. But I really just felt they didn't flesh out these characters enough to really make me care, and so why kill one of them to make it a point? It doesn't really make a point at all. Even Beta didn't feel like much to me. The only thing Beta played off of, and I'll get to Evan after that really quick, is the only thing Beta plays off for me is I feel like that is the perfect example of nature versus nurture. And just like I like the interplay that had with the characters in that way, but besides that, I had no affiliation for Beta either. I don't know why. I have affiliation for Aloy. I really do connect with the character, and I think it's because we spend so much time with her and she processes so much while she speaks a lot while you're playing the game, while you're doing all the missions. She's very vocal about things, and so you really have an understanding of her. It's everyone else is so bland because you don't understand everyone else. Evan, thoughts? I know I spewed a lot. This was my big thing.
On Varl, yeah, I think it kind of says something about a game when you can just kill any one of the any one of the group, and it actually doesn't change how you feel about who dies. Like, imagine if it was Zoe or Aaron, or that kind of says something about how they've have not successfully developed the characters enough, because it could have been Aaron, right?
Yeah.
Would how you feel change? Like,
No.
It's the same. It's like, oh, that sucks. All right, let's go on to the next mission.
Well, sorry.
So I think that's
the final thing that the other reason is not because they're not developed, but they're also they just hang out at your home base. They don't go anywhere. They don't do anything.
Yeah.
So like I don't feel like they contribute.
Yeah, they are talking furniture. That's all they are.
I like that. Okay, sorry, Evan, continue.
No, what are you talking about, Mitch? What are you talking about, Mitch? Aaron's there to play games of Machine Strike with you when you've had a game. That's why they didn't kill him off.
Stupid fucking game with him. Absolutely not. I played the exact 2 times you have to win to get the trophy, and I never touched that horrible
I loved it.
game again.
That was the best thing in the game, in my opinion. Like,
I'm not surprised.
that
You are
game I was like, I'm so hoping that they kick like they did in the first game. They kickstart a board game and turn it into a real game because I'll be on the Kickstart list if they do. I love Machine Strike. I thought that was the one thing that was original and quite well thought out, and the way the pieces moved and the landscape. I thought, yes, that's awesome. You've actually done something different, but it didn't go far enough in my opinion. They could have done a lot more with it. But and the games with Errand annoyed me because you could only play as like beginner level, and I was like, well, that's fucking bollocks. He should have got better as the game progressed, in my opinion. But anyway,
True, that would have been a nice detail to
yeah,
make it get better and better, right?
yeah,
Because
yeah.
he's
He's
spending so
sat
much.
there all day, not doing anything else apart from drinking and playing Machine Strike. Surely he should get better.
Yeah, he does nothing the whole game except play with that board in front of him. Like you'd imagine, like by the end of the game, he developed these six.
But that's why they couldn't kill him off because there'd be no one to play Machine Strike with in the base if they did.
Just make up someone else also plays Machine Strike. Like
I know.
you know, it's not a
Whereas
big
Barrow
deal.
was stood at the desk the whole time, so he just wasn't that character model in front of the desk anymore, which I found quite amusing.
Like
Obviously, I'm
Very
just joking.
bracket to talk, like because this will probably be the only time in this spoiler cast when we touch on that game, on that board game. It's a good game. Like
I really liked it.
it has like good rules.
Yep.
It's entertaining, but and also like Valhalla. Sorry to bring that in. Valhalla has a good board game like that, you know. But compared to some, you appreciate the effort. Like they made
Me too.
board game within the game, and then you look at Gwent, which could have been the same thing that you ignore, but they integrated that so well into the story. Like you get side quests where you care deeply about these 2 or 3 cards some character lost that were inherent.
Let me correct you. You do. I could give two shits about Gwent.
But anyway, the Machine Strike I really enjoyed, and I like the fact that I could get new character models, and you'd find little crafters that could make you new ones to strengthen your team, and I had a really good selection by the end. I had all these different pieces. My team was fantastic. I was very happy with it.
Okay, well,
but Rafa, you're saying that they developed Gwent more than they did Machine Strike, and they could have done that, right?
Yeah, I agree with Rafa there.
Yeah, like integrate it into the story. Like if you want people to play it more, like give them more opportunities as part of a meaningful story to get players to play it more and then eventually get hooked on it. Because that's what Gwent did. And if you want to have mini games like this in your game, spend time on those story-wise.
Okay. So let me just get one time around the room. I know we kind of said a lot of us said we didn't care about any of these characters, but I just want to hear your favorite team member.
I'll start. For me, I was looking at the list and I was asking myself, who would I feel sorry if they really died? Because any one of them could die and you just be like, oh, I see. But I would miss Errand because I felt like he's the comic relief out of all of them. And I enjoyed all conversations with him, and if he died, then I would be left with a mildly boring cast. You know, like Varl and Zoe are always away in their room learning new languages and making babies. Kotalo is all by himself.
Oh yeah, they're learning new languages, all right.
Okay,
the language of love.
In the forest, yeah.
Right?
The forest.
And
with the land gods.
Yeah.
And then
The land
we
gods.
didn't talk much about.
We got a whole Lion King moment. She's gonna hold him up to the land gods. The circle of life. Sorry. Go ahead.
Alpha, who she's really focused on research, right? By the way, I made a note on Alva. I think to me, like based on the voice actress Alison J, I think that's the best performance in the game to me.
Oh, I have a different one, and you wouldn't expect of who it would be. It's not a main character though.
Uh, let's hear it.
Mine is the hunt the merchant that sells you weapons in Alva's town, where his brother was missing and he got killed on a tower. The voice actor is so good on that scene, on that side mission. That is my favorite voice actor so far in the game.
Yeah, I know
Aloy.
which one you mean, but I didn't make a note of that. Like I
I
didn't.
quite liked. I
His
quite liked
expression.
the what's it, the woman. The woman. Oh, what's her name? The one who you did your final like fight missions with, up the top when you sat around the campfire, and then you follow her up the hill, and then you fight against her. What's that called?
Oh,
What was
after you
the
kill
what's
all the
that
commands.
mission called? I can't remember what the mission's called. The follow, not the following, the rending. No, can't remember. Don't remember the thing where you go, you do all the pits, and then you fight the crazy woman in the forest, who's like the Don, and then you have to beat her. I can't remember what the mission's called.
Yeah, I know which one you mean. I don't know her name.
Okay.
You guys know.
So I got yours. Sorry, I got to move you along, Rafa. So you got yours. Yours is Aaron, Evan.
Actually thinking about it, I don't really care much about any of these side characters, but if I had to keep one, I think it would be Alva, just because I think the idea of the Quen is so interesting. Because then one thing it does show you is because you're in the United States, and then you realize like, oh sure, this post-apocalyptic world extends to the entirety of the world, and it's nice to bring in a culture and a people from another place, and how their kind of whole religion revolves around
Business.
worshiping CEOs, which
CEO.
is
It's
it's
CEO.
sad. It's kind of yeah, right. Which is and I said this as well on OTAPs. It took me way too long to realize what they were doing there.
The
in that
the
specific,
subtitles is what told me.
quest.
I didn't realize it until I was reading subtitles. I was like, CEO. Oh,
Right.
CEO. Oh, I got it.
Okay, it's like, yeah, that took me too long. But I think Alva is the most interesting character because there's so many questions around her, and I just like the exchanges because, like we were talking about how it would have been nice if the Zenith came back and it was a not a clash per se, but just an exchange of just misunderstandings between two different cultures. That does happen with Alva because she's from a culture that completely it's like it's like the Tower of Babel, right? We all got displaced in different locations, and we developed different cultures completely separate from each other.
Right.
And the way people will evolve, not evolve, but create societies and cultures and stuff. It's completely different if you're all separated, and when you come together, you kind of learn, okay, this is how you thought of this concept. This is how you thought. This is the religion that you created versus the one that we did. And I think that she brings that really interesting aspect of that to this game with this kind of whole Tower of Babel type of thing. So yeah, I think she's the most interesting of all the characters.
I'll go to Dan,
Yeah.
and then we'll come back to me because I'll transition us to Ted Farrow really quick before we move on
Yeah.
to the after.
Cool.
This is all the character stuff.
And I'm in agreement with Evan. Alva was the most interesting, and actually, of all the characters, if they were going to die, I'd have been most gutted if Alva had died. In my opinion, I thought she was the most interesting character that we met, and obviously, I met her quite early on in my gameplay because I went and did the last mission first, and I was like, this character's awesome, and then that made me more intrigued to go over and try and fight, like, even Wester to like find her little outpost. Am I right in believing that they're basically from Hawaii? And then they've like got their ship to there, and then they went or not.
No, it's actually San Francisco. It just
That's San Francisco, but that's not where they're from. That's an away. They've just set up camp from their ship to get them there. So when she talks about where they've come from with all their elders, that's like Hawaii, and they've shipped there with one elder and her, and then they did an onward mission back to the mainland again. So they've gone twice. That's why I go, because otherwise, it's a pretty shit civilization.
Are you talking about her homeland?
Yeah, I'm talking about her homeland.
Her homeland
Quen
is
homeland,
her homeland is in San Francisco.
I don't think it
No,
is.
no, it's not.
No, it's not.
No,
We never go to her homeland.
Oh,
That's like
sorry.
a
Okay,
mission.
sorry. You. It made it sound like the one you were talking about is the homeland of like where their home base is.
No. That's that's an away base.
Oh, it's probably it's probably Hawaii, to be honest. It's probably Hawaii.
That's what I wondered. Why
some
everyone
maybe Japan or China or some Polynesian island maybe,
Okay,
which is
cool.
a bit
Taiwan
closer,
maybe
right?
or
I mean,
something.
we don't know, but
Yeah,
sure,
we
sure.
don't
It's who knows.
But basically, that's what I gathered. Yeah. So then, like, it was quite interesting to see them and set up their little base and like I don't know. I just thought that was the one side character that they really went heavy on. Like I spent a lot of time in San Francisco discovering, like, doing a lot of side missions for the people, and with her. And like and I'll let you transition to the next thing in a minute, but like I just really enjoyed her things and her side missions a lot more than the other characters, which I thought didn't have to be there.
Well, I'm going to be the third in agreement with you fellas because I do agree I did like Alva the most. And I do like Katalo a lot, but I do like Alva. I think the thing that I think we're all captivated by is she's similar to Aloy, that the curiosity and the innocence of that curiosity is probably the thing that Aloy connects to the most. And it seems to have a much more of a easy banter that is very relatable between the two characters, which then makes her interesting as a character because Aloy is almost teaching her, but she also wants to learn and also brings a different perspective for her. So I think that's the big element that makes her probably the more fascinating character of all of them, because she already has the initial information about the focus. It's not Aloy teaching them about focus. She already knows, so she already has a base that Aloy understands, which then makes the conversations with her so much easier and so much more lively than just being very blunt of like, this is how you use a focus. This is talk to Gaia. Gaia will teach you everything. This is more of like, oh, your focus is out of date. Oh, you just don't have that kind of data. Here's how do you get that kind of data? Here's the data for that. And then they talk about the data together and they both have a similar understanding of how it functions. And I think that's what's really fascinating. Which leads to the most interesting mission of theirs, which I think is real fascinating, is hearing the fate of Ted Faro, which I am still pissed they don't show him because I did want to see what he looked like.
Was pissed off.
I wanted to see what he looked
come
like.
Out of like some like googly thing.
Yeah.
I was like, they're gonna do it behind a bloody wall. I was like, really pissed me off.
Yeah, that did piss me
I
off.
was like,
I wanted to see him.
Super invested in that side mission, like with all the recordings and listening to how he went crazy.
Oh yeah. I was listening to them all too.
It.
I was like, because it kept getting worse. It's just like, because it's the doctor. You find it's the doctor's daughter. There's the one that recording all the things, and the doctor is trying to keep him alive as long as possible. They end up stopping and just saying, "We're not going to help you anymore." She convinces him to quit, and then that's just leading up to that moment with all those recordings is probably one of the best missions of the entire game, and in my opinion.
Yep.
And it is so good,
really
but it's so disappointing you don't see what he looks like.
Yeah.
But I think it was a nice little thing that you get to see and fight the corruptors. You know, like there are two corruptors in that section of the
shout outs to the first game. Yeah, that's super great.
Yeah.
Those have given me so much trouble in the first game, and in this one, like I'm just ending them. I'm totaling them.
That's a good point. Yeah,
it shows how far you've come.
Yeah. Quick shout out to two other characters before moving forward. Because you reminded me when you mentioned how Aloy was so comfortable to nerd out next to Alva because she also was knowledgeable of all these things. It reminded me when she met I don't know, were they brothers in the desert? Like in the section where you go underwater in the casino in Vegas.
I didn't like them. I did not like them.
No. I that was the first time Aloy clicked. It had like this shine in her eyes that someone was getting her. You know, like and we could put these pieces together, and we could get this part from this other thing, and then it would work. And that was nice to see there for a second. They to me they were interesting characters. I like the synergy between them.
I
agree.
I get what you mean. I think the thing that made me not like it as much is the fact that when she's talking about these elements, I don't understand what she means. Like, I know what she means of the parts, but how they function and why she's selecting those parts mean nothing to me. And so it's very hard to follow as a person, to be like, well, why did you pick that piece to like put into the rebreather? Like, I don't get it. But at least in Alva, like when they talked about things, it's things I know and like things that I can follow. And when they was talking with the guys about the parts and stuff, I was not following that. Especially with like same thing with like Beta, when they had a moment where Beta was like with capturing Hephaestus, and like Beta was trying to fix the container, and they were talking about things you could do to fix it. I'm like, I don't know what the hell these pieces are. Do that, whatever.
I don't think it means.
I mean, I think it's just it's technological mumbo jumbo that you can just not pay attention to and wave away at,
But
like,
I
because
wanna know.
it doesn't exist. It doesn't make sense. Do you? I think
do.
that's not the point of those scenes. It's
I do. Like,
but it's also like not based in like real technology, so it doesn't really matter.
But I guess you could
know?
say this as simple as like when you like talk about. Well, I think they did it a little bit better in the beta section, because then they were like, oh, I need something stronger. Well, why don't you try the muscle of this machine, because the muscle's strong. She added a little bit of explanation on like, why did you choose that part, where in the rebreather scene they didn't tell you anything about why they picked that specific piece, and so I was just very much out of it.
I don't know, man. She puts something on her mouth and she can breathe underwater. I don't have to worry about a fucking oxygen gauge. Like, who gives a shit what the thing is made out of? Like, I can breathe underwater, thank God. That's
Did anyone do any underwater exploration before they got the rebreather?
Oh yeah, I tried to do as much as possible. I tried to break the game trying to do it, as like I died many times trying to do things I shouldn't have done.
I'm asking Mitch because my brother did that. He's like, oh, I discovered all these things in these caves, and he's like, I nearly died a few times, and I didn't. And I was like, oh. I was like, well, you wait for a bit, you might have something that'll help you out. He's like, okay.
Well, they give you a very, very blatant hint once you die a few times, saying like, oh, I probably don't have the equipment for this yet. And I'm like, oh, thanks.
Don't have that shit show up in the beginning of the game. Have those areas show up later. So like, I forgot like how much was left over. Like, there's so much in the Daunt.
Yeah, that you can't.
That you have to go back to. I'm like, why put it there then? Like, I just like put it later. Like, what are you fucking doing? Like, the Daunt should only be for tutorial purposes.
Metroidvania.
Yeah,
it's a Metroidvania.
The game's too fucking big for that, because you forget what you're supposed to do. You forget where that shit is. There's at least 2 caves. I have no idea where they are. I don't remember where they are, that I didn't complete.
Oh well. Well, all right.
I'm saying them deeply. It seems, but it's funny. I know saying on the 2 guys, the thing you mentioned, Las Vegas, I thought was amazing when you got the lights turned on. So the visuals there, I thought were incredible. At nighttime when you went into the desert, and it was really cool. I thought that was really. And
Burkoff will never play this game.
Yep.
What a shame. The guy that lives, Mr. Las Vegas himself, will never know how cool it is.
And the best part is like, my favorite part of that scene is like, I really do like that scene with the lights and stuff, is I like how they talked about what they're going to do in the city, which basically said what Vegas is. Being like, we'll have some entertainment, we'll have some food, why don't we play some games? Right. And I'm like, oh my God, they're just making Vegas all over again. All right, moving on. Unless, Rafa, did you have one more character you wanted a quick shout out?
That was all.
Okay, cool. All right. Well, we got 2 last chunks and then we're all done. And these actually will go by pretty quick. I want to talk about machines, fellas. And I want 2 things from you. I want your favorite machine of the game, just one. And then I want, what machine do you want in the next game? So I can go first just to let you guys think about it if you haven't thought about it yet. My favorite machine was the Sea Dragon. That looks like the one that looks like Lapras.
Yeah, the Tide Rippers.
Yes, that was my favorite one. Yeah, because it reminds me of Lapras. I liked how it wasn't too difficult, but it definitely was difficult. And I do like I liked the which one? I like the balance it had with its difficulty, and certain areas where I did feel really satisfied when I could, especially explode certain canisters, especially up in the neck area. I was really satisfied with that. What I want a freaking dragon. I want a dragon with
They're
wings.
not real though. That's the problem.
It doesn't
They're
have
not
to
real.
be.
It does. Because
I think
because
all the creatures are
Riptide-
based in reality, are they not?
Yeah,
They-
the
who
Riptide-
says they
the
have to be?
Riptide- The Riptide, they do. The Riptide is a dinosaur. It's a Diplodocus.
Yeah,
It's based
I
on
get
Diplodocus.
that, Dan, but like it doesn't say like anywhere in the game it does not say it has to be based off a living creature.
Yeah, but how are they gonna build a dragon when they've got no like?
I think
They're,
well, the
do you know
whole-
how far
the whole-
advanced their
the whole-
technology is? Do they not have like
Yeah.
like Artemis, whatever that thing is that has the history books of thousands of years old of information? They could have a dragon freaking somewhere.
So
I think the whole point of all the creatures is that they're real creatures that are tied to
Existing in
Earth
time,
because they can
yeah.
properly terraform.
Yeah,
Is the thing. A dragon is not real, so it couldn't
Dragons are
terraform the
real.
way that it's supposed to work, right?
Well, I
Yeah.
say
I
screw
want
the
to-
rules. We have a giant nemesis being thingy that's a bunch of human minds coming down to Earth. I want a fucking dragon, and I want to ride
Hear me
it.
out.
Maybe Nemesis turns itself into a dragon. Like you never
Yeah.
know. Who knows?
I want a spin-off where the cauldrons are infested with science fiction literature or I don't know, like that. And then they produce the creatures in that piece of literature because they received all these
Okay.
actual things. But what if you give them fictional
Yeah.
data?
Yeah, what if like Aloy reads a book and says like this is a motherfucking dragon. Gaia, give me a motherfucking dragon because this thing looks badass to beat Nemesis with. And then Gaia says, "Fuck yeah, I'm going to make you a dragon." Motherfucking dragon. All right, let's keep going.
But actually, wait, hold on. Rafa has a really good point.
Well, I'll go to you.
Rafa has
So-
a good point.
No, I was gonna
Rafa,
let you. Well,
go ahead.
Evan, I'm gonna let you speak, and then you gotta say yours. So that's what I'm
Okay.
trying to do. I'm trying to help
Okay.
you here, my friend.
Okay.
And you're cutting me
I'm sorry.
off.
I'm sorry. I apologize.
All right, go
It's
ahead.
my fault.
Yeah, it's all your fault. Go ahead.
No, Rafa brought up a good point where they could have their cake and eat it too, where necessarily it doesn't make sense for the machines to create fictional creatures. But what if they write it away where like the wires got crossed and that the data that they were pulling from was fictional creatures and they were creating those in a cauldron or something like that. And you could have this crazy cauldron where there are dragons or some other crazy stuff, and you're like, holy shit, this is fucking awesome. That is a option for having your cake and eating it too. I actually never thought about that, and I think that's really a great idea for a moment, or maybe the cauldron spills out
Well, I
into
was
the
gonna-
real world.
oh, sorry,
and then Mitch,
Go ahead.
then your dragon is it makes sense.
Well, I was gonna say,
Yeah.
like my sea dragon one I like is not based off. It's like half based off a real creature, half based off not a real creature because it looks like
Which one?
Lapras.
No, it looks.
Well,
like
it looks like Lapras, but it's based off of Plesiosaurus, is it?
Yeah,
not?
Plesiosaurus.
Oh, okay.
It's Plesiosaurus, not Diplodocus. And Lapras is based off of Plesiosaurus.
Oh, okay.
They're all based off dinosaurs.
All right, Evan, what's
Um,
yours? What's your dinosaur? What's your favorite? And then what's one you want in what you want in the next game? And then I'll go to Dan.
Actually, I was gonna say like I really like the Tide Ripper, especially the Las Vegas fight, Mitch. First time the Tide Ripper jumps out of the water, it was one of those emergent gameplay things where
Yeah.
the fight itself, specifically how I dealt with it, was just really really cool. I wasn't at that point in the game where I was too powerful, so I like by the skin of my teeth I got through that fight, and I kept spinning my wheel to figure out what arrows and what I could use to take care of it. So the Tide Ripper is awesome. The Dreadwing is another one, the bat.
You only
creature.
get one. We only got time for one.
Okay, fine.
What do you want in the next game?
All right, fine. You choose the Tide Ripper. I'll choose the Dreadwing. I just thought the Dreadwing, a giant bat, was really really cool. Although like there was a issue with the game, like if you hit a flying creature in its critical point, if you crit it, it would jump. It would slam down, and if it was too close to the ground, it would clip through the ground and disappear, which annoyed me when I was trying to do trophies. But I would say, as we were bringing up earlier, there's no like giant cat creatures. I know What is the one, Mitch? Because you recently played the Frozen Wilds. What is the kind of like? Is it a giant wolf? Is that what
It's a
that
bear.
one that?
It's the bear that you.
No, no. So there was a bear, and there was
There's
another
the
one as
saber-toothed
well.
tiger, isn't there? There's the saber-toothed tiger, which is a cat.
Oh yeah, there
There's
is.
the what,
But there's
there's
also.
the what they call.
I thought it was a
I can't
lion.
remember.
I thought it was more of a lion than a.
Well, it's still
I
a
don't think
cat.
it's a lion.
I
It's still a
think there's
cat.
a machine that
But anyway,
means to.
anyway, go to the what's your future one?
Okay, so I was gonna say a tiger, but that's a cat, and I don't like cats. So I want a. Okay, I'll go. You know what, Mitch? I'm bouncing off of what you said about the dragon, and then Rafa gave us an excuse to use imaginary creatures from this cauldron. Uh, Cerebus, eighth. What's better than one dog? A dog with three heads, essentially three dogs in one.
That'd be
I wanted
cool.
to start making fictional.
Oh, three different
Characters
elements
from,
it
like-
shoots out of its mouth:
Yeah.
fire, ice,
Yeah, that'd
and
be
like
really
lightning or
cool.
something. All right,
That'd be really cool.
Dan,
Something like
your
that.
turn.
My favorite was probably I like the elephant. I know they were a bit cumbersome and a bit silly, but I did like the elephant. I thought they were cool. I also quite liked I like the elemental differences which you came across, like how you came across like the bear in like in like the snow. So it was like it was like a snow bear, and then there was a fire bear. I did like the fact they were like mix and matching that. But probably I would say the elephant was my favorite. In terms of next game, I would probably. Oh, I liked your two ideas. Let me think. Maybe like. Oh, I'm not really sure, really.
Come back to
But
you.
like a
Come
pigeon?
back to you. I'm going to
Like a
Rafa.
pig-
Rafa, what's your
come back to me.
two?
Questions. So mine is the roller back. I chose
yeah.
mine based on how much fun I had to fight the machine. So I had a lot of fun with the roller back because it has all these plates. And something that's really impressive from a technical standpoint is that all the parts that are flying away from machines, they have collision.
Mm-hmm.
Because at one point many times I was fighting machines. I would get them to explode in parts during the fight, and when I was throwing shredder gauntlet discs, I would see the disc hit the plate that was in mid-air and go somewhere else. And of course, that was frustrating at times, but I like that. I like that they gave weight to those plates. So what happens with the roller back, because the plates have collision both when you are fighting it and when they are flying away, is that you can get the disc trapped inside the body of the roller back, especially when it comes rolling to you. So you can inflict a lot of damage. I did so much critical acid damage because that's the gauntlet I got like a really powerful gauntlet which was inflicting acid damage, and yeah, that was always satisfying to use against these rollerbacks. So yeah, that's my favorite machine. Now, what I would think it would be hilarious to see in the next game, I would like to see them do a sloth. You know, like
Yeah.
you
Now
know,
you're
like
thinking.
how would you make this animal like interesting in that way? Like that, I leave it up to them. But I was thinking like you roam through these, like you explore these forests, and out of nowhere a sloth just falls on you. You know, like you don't can see them. Like they just fall off the branches, like in the real world, uh, where they unfortunately die. But let's say that's their like combat move. Like they just drop on you, and then I don't know. They have wheels and move faster. I don't know.
You saying that makes me want to have a koala bear.
Yeah, I was thinking bear. I was
and,
thinking
Right,
and,
right.
and it
I
would
was
like
thinking koala or like panda or something like that.
and it
That
would
was
like
kind of
hang from the
exactly right.
trees and like it plants
Yeah.
trees and stuff, and then what would happen is it would pull off the tree and like swing at you while it's eating it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
How come they didn't make anything with wheels? Like Aloy could have used like a cauldron to make herself a motorbike. No, you have to ride.
Not
You have
yet.
to.
We'll see. We'll see. Maybe the third game. All right, let's get to the last kind of section, which is sequel. It was broken up in two parts, so we're gonna make this quick as possible, but yet still in depth. We'll just go around the room with plot. What do you want and what do you think will happen? And try to keep it like decently short.
Who's going to go first?
Silence.
I'll go first. Okay. I want something a bit more kind of impactful, and my decisions have impact. Not completely, because I realise it has to be like, but I want little tidbits of me doing something in the game, especially with all the side missions, because it's going to be an open world game, I would expect. So I want some of that to have some kind of impact on the story. I'm not saying it will like. I'm not saying it will block you from finishing it. Do you know what I mean? Like you'll still be able to finish it, whatever choice you take, but the choice you make have actually some form of impact, rather than this game where they gave you the illusion of choice, but it meant nothing. That'd be quite nice. But what I think it's going to be an absolute car crash. I'm very little. From what they've set up, I actually have no desire to play the third game, and I might change my mind when I see it. But right now, I went from the first game to being I must play the second game to now going I'd rather Guerrilla go and make something completely different. That's how I feel. I don't think there needs to be a third game. I don't really give a toss if this thing comes and destroys the world or not. That's kind of how I feel. It's really like I'm really sad that they've done that, but that's how I feel. Like I feel like actually look what you did with Horizon when you first did that. Maybe go make something else, because you're just bringing out the same garbage over and over again, and I don't trust you now to make enough changes to make. Otherwise, I'm going to play a third game and I have less of an opinion of the third game as I did the second game. So we'll see. I probably will be wrong, but I've lost a bit of I've lost a bit of faith I had in Guerrilla. That's what I'd say from this game.
Before I say mine, because I'm going to piggyback off you. Taps, you had 2 people on your podcast. I have 4, and I'm getting it done in half the time. Just saying. He's saying we're almost going 3 hours. If you did not know, Evan already talked about this game. So Evan has technically talked about this game for almost a full whopping 5 hours. But just saying, Taps, we're almost on 3 hours, and I got 4 people's opinion, not just 2. Suck it. Anyway, what I'm going to say is I am picking back off you, Dan, a little bit. I'm not going as extreme. I am worried. Because this plot point reminds me of Assassin's Creed in a bad way. You know, when Assassin's Creed all of a sudden started to play with more of the futuristic stuff, especially in the second game, and they left you with that cliffhanger of being like, oh, the Promethean people or whatever, the first ones, whatever. All of a sudden it's like, oh my god, now this game got way too complicated, and it didn't have to be this complicated. That's where I feel like this game is coming into. Now, I don't want it where Dan is saying like my choices have matter and all that kind of stuff. I kind of like having it the way it is currently. I wish they didn't give me a choice with the Regala thing. I don't mind having choices with how I choose to speak dialogue wise and things still staying relatively the same. I rather trust them with having a set, especially with something like this, having a clear plot and knowing exactly how it's going to start and end. That's really what I want. I do not want anything where I can deter from that, because it's just going to get real messy real quick. I don't know what's going to happen. I obviously think they're going to stop whatever's coming, but because I don't have any idea what the heck this Nemesis thing is, I really hope it's just not a Mass Effect 3 where it's this thing is coming, and then when we get to the point where the thing actually happens, it's quite disappointing because it's only like a small section of the game. Like they put themselves in a corner that I don't think is very good. Rafa.
Yeah, I'll also piggyback on you because you mentioned Mass Effect 3. I want them to go big. I want them to destroy Earth in the prologue, and then you go to other places, like something extreme, something big. Take risks. Don't give me a story where all the game I'm going to these places to collect parts to make this huge weapon that eventually
Or bring the
kills
tribes
what.
together. I'm enough talking to people about shit.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right. Meaningful choices for the next game. If you're giving me dialogue tree options, make them matter. Give utility to my crew members so that when my decisions impact who stays alive, I feel it in combat. Right. I don't. Of course, I don't want this to turn into a JRPG with characters having stats, but give them unique perks that are non-upgradable, that make my life a lot easier, so that when I lose them, it literally hurts me. Like, okay, I now can't use healing mid-fight because this character's not here or whatever. I don't know. Like, I don't design these games, but give like something soft, something that's almost unnoticeable while it's there, but it's noticeable when it's gone. That's what I like to see. But because we're talking plot, something very very important, they pulled a Far Cry on this on this one, because they introduced the villains in the beginning and they only brought them back towards the end. Like, no, spread out throughout the entire game. The Because I feel like they were cheating. Like, they had me drag through all this game just to get a tiny little bit of content I was interested, only at the end.
Evan.
Can I? Oh, sorry. I was just going to answer that. All right.
Um. So actually, attaching something to what Rafa was saying, I think it would be a big mistake to but seems like what they're doing is they introduce Nemesis, and not only is that a stupid name because it's way too on the nose. Like, please think of a better name
Please
for
don't
the
say
ultimate
stars.
evil.
Please don't go stars
Yeah,
when it
right,
shows
yeah,
up.
right. So our collective consciousness of all the Zenith, we co-opted the name Bad Guy, and Bad Guy is going to come to Earth, and it's like, okay, whatever. But
Yeah, for being
I
1,000 years old, you could come up with a better name than Nemesis.
Is
yeah,
there not?
like I said, I was talking with OTAPs. Like, there was no billionaire writer in your crew and the new planet that could have thought of an awesome name for whatever this
I would have
like
taken
evil
Anomaly.
entity is, right? Right. So one thing I don't like is in the 11th hour introducing a new big baddie. That's kind of a disappointment. So now that you introduce them, the biggest mistake you could make is not showing them until the very end of the third game, as Rafa was saying, right? It's this Mass Effect 3 thing again, as we're saying, like, okay, but at least they introduced like the I always Mick Wall makes fun of me all the time because I can't think of the name. Is it the Reavers or the Reapers?
Reapers.
Reapers.
Yeah.
Thank you. What's a Reaver? So don't do that.
Can I just make one point? What worries
Yeah, go ahead,
me,
Dan.
I'm sure they'll change the map, but like she's got her base now. So she just gonna up and move her base for the next game, or are we just gonna be stuck in this Forbidden West world for the next game?
Oh, man,
Well,
all you do is
like-
put Gaia
Yeah.
in like a cylinder
And then
kind of thing
transport her
and take
somewhere else in
wherever
the
you
world.
want.
Well,
That's
Gaia,
gonna have to be
yeah,
Gaia
a
might have to
different-
go somewhere else, though. Gaia might have
Yeah,
to like
that's
to
what I'm saying.
upload somewhere
But
else.
But that's what worries me with Evans. What Evan was saying is we're not going to see this big bad to the end of the third game because like they didn't make it noted that they have to go somewhere else to thingy guys. So we either start the game like going somewhere, having to go somewhere to fight it, or yeah, I don't know. And also I don't know what kind of landscape they're going to go to next. Like
Oh,
they're gonna
okay,
get,
so
are they gonna get in one of the Gwen boats and go travel like west and end up in like ancient China? I don't know. It'd be interesting.
You have to
Yeah,
go
so-
to each
so-
continent.
Yeah.
well,
Look at each
right.
continent,
So okay, so like Nemesis is coming, and so there's a ticking clock element to the third game. It would be a shame if you don't know anything more about Nemesis until the very end of the game, and there's a massive exposition dump, and then you fight it. That's a huge mistake. I don't think they should do that. They should intersperse elements of this immediately, or Nemesis gets there earlier than anticipated. Like a sixth of the way through the game, and then the plans change, and they have to do something else. Either go to space.
You're already putting yourself in a pickle because like this is my issue, and this is why I'm worried, because it's an open world game. Ticking time bomb plot lines are bad in open world games, because what's the point of an open world game? I want to explore everywhere. I'm going to take my time. Right. I'm going to go everywhere. The urgency is completely lost always in an open world game. It never works. So why do it now and put yourself in that corner?
Which is one of my criticisms of Red Dead 2, is because like you can go out and like spend like 2 in-game weeks like in the wilderness, and then you come back to your camp and it's like, hey, I saw you yesterday, and it's like, no, you didn't, and it's like, because it's like, well, no, that's not. I've been away for like, I've had like day-night cycles for like, been hunting in the north, and there's no recognition of that. It's half going to be the same issue.
It's half the reason Mass Effect 3 was such a failure in some aspects, is because you had the Reapers are on Earth. They're destroying Earth as we speak. Oh, I'm going to go to this planet. Oh, I'm going to go to this planet. I'm going to go explore here. And then, I'm trying to get everybody together. But by the time I get there, Earth is probably already half completely destroyed and not worth saving. I might as well go do something else with my time. It's just, I'm so scared.
I
get what you say.
Yeah. Take it for granted because you can't do it in any way else. So they just do it regardless of it being immersion.
And that's why I know people would have been angry, but I would have preferred if they'd just got in the ship and flown somewhere else. Like I know that would have been the cop out, but at least they could have they're not like circumscribed to this big bad coming to Earth. And I think having that lying over them over the next plot is gonna I think it's gonna ruin the game. They might do something amazing, and I might be eating my words in 5 or whatever years time.
To be honest,
but I worry.
Be honest, based off the writing of this game, how they did the plot lines in this one game, I'm worried, because if it wasn't this inconsistent and not good in a lot of aspects of the writing and the plot lines and everything like that, and the overall arcing story, I wouldn't be as worried. But now that's the way it is, and they put themselves in the corner with the choices they made, now I'm worried.
They could intercept the Nemesis in a place that's not Earth, either a new planet or a ship they build.
Well, they made it very clear, but they made it very clear that they can't. There is no other planet that is habitable like Earth's atmosphere. So the only way to like make it work in space is like you would have to fight in the spaceship, but like gravity is normal.
Mario Odyssey on the moon, Nemesis versus Aloy. Come on, let's do it.
Final thing. What is the type of gameplay you want added to the game next time for the next game?
I'll go first.
Go ahead.
So I can go. I like it how it is now. I want more customization. I want transmog. I want to be able to wear anything I like. I want meaningful tools to be introduced as early as possible. I hate it so much that you cannot start flying until the very end of the game. And by the time I got there, I already had all the fast travel points unlocked. So it made absolutely no sense for me to try to stay in the air and get from point A to B. That was so frustrating. That would have...
OTAPs in chat says ban fast traveling, Rafa.
No, because I honestly, flying lost its luster in 10 minutes. Because it's not interesting.
I had so many backpacks and materials to craft them. Like I had over 10,000. I'm not kidding. I had over 10,000 branches. I had to use them on something. So I just didn't care how many backpacks I made. I think I burned through over 100 of them, right? So do that, please. Allow me to fly, to go underwater from the very beginning, like in the prologue. I don't know how, like, but pace those better because it was frustrating. Like I was, because after a while in these open world games, you go like, okay, I'll stop doing story missions or side quests. I just want to clear the map. And no, oh, you cannot explode this thing right now because you don't have god knows what. You cannot break this metal flower because you, like, everything was locked. I couldn't go anywhere to explore. And I get it, like, it incentivized progression, but I was so out of options when it came to exploration because nothing worked. Nothing worked. Like I'm fine if it's just like 15% of the things that I'm trying to get to, but it was over a half, and it made. I think this is why I wait. This is why it took me so long to beat the game because I spent so much time traveling on foot and while riding on to all these locations only to get there for nothing because I couldn't access them. So it was wasted time. Um, so yeah, I think
Um,
that's what I want to see gameplay wise. I think the combat is fine. It was very enjoyable. I want something that allows me, if I'm really really skilled, to one hit kill enemies or do like an 80% critical damage because fights took so long. Like while they are fun, uh,
Actually,
I feel
Rafa, there, to answer your question, there is a way to do that. You have to get to each machine's internal core. It's just very difficult. There's specific locations you have to pop off to expose
I
it, and
assume
if you can shoot it, then you can knock off extreme
yeah,
damage.
yeah,
only
you
the
can do
head
that.
works for some, and I don't know, towards
But to
like
get there takes a while.
Can I
Like
jump
make
in?
it quicker.
Yeah, no, I
I
get you.
put the
Um, what
All
I
right, all right, Dan.
what I want to say is the fact that oh god, now I've gone blank. Oh fucking hell! I was thinking my point. Now it's gone. Well, of course, I always want RTS things in these games.
You want to command an? I was gonna say, is Dan gonna say I want to command an army of robots?
Not machines. Thank
Yeah.
you very much. Yeah, like happily, I'd love to do that. Not overarching, but I'd like to do that in a little part. But that's fine. I was a bit disappointed there wasn't that in this game. But no, there was something I really wanted to talk about, and now I've gone blank.
Well,
and it's
I'll
really
go to
annoying
Evan,
me.
and we'll come
Go
back
to
to you if
Evan,
you can think of
anything?
it. Evan, go ahead. What do you want in the next game?
Simply strip the game down. I don't think you have to add anything. I think you should. I appreciate something like the sharpshooter bow
Oh,
and the
no.
hunter bow. I get that. That's fine. However, I don't want to slow down time and go through my weapon wheel and accidentally choose a ammo that I don't want and not realize that I'm shooting the wrong ammo at an enemy after four. Like, how about I do have the hunter bow and the sharpshooter bow, and then I can pick which arrows that I put into that bow.
The arrows
It's
are the
not
things you
specific
buy,
to
not the bow.
itself.
Yep.
Yeah. And then you don't have this whole thing where like you go to these different these hunters that are selling like things. I'm just like, this is like slightly better than the other one, but the only reason is because it also has like ice. Just
And
strip
it's not
that
fully
stuff down.
upgraded yet because it's a little weaker, but eventually it'll be stronger if you upgrade it all the way.
Completely strip out half of all the crafting shit in this game. I'm so sick. Everything in this game is crafting. It doesn't matter what you do, it's crafting. And you know what? You can do all the side quests in the game, and what you have is still not good enough to craft anything because you have to go out of your way for. Like, how about if your whole entire game is crafting? How about all your side quests are side quests where the ultimate, the enemy that you're facing
Gives you the thing you
is
need.
gives you the shit that you need for the ultimate stuff. How about that? No, I did every fucking side quest in this game, and I still had 0 elements to upgrade like the ultimate armor and stuff. And just like everything you do in this game requires crafting. It's crafting layered on crafting. Just strip it down. I get what they're
I have my
doing,
point.
but it's way too much. It's way too much busy work, and you're already fighting enemies in every single side quest. And then on top of that, you have to go out of your way to do fight enemies to get crafting stuff for. I just strip it down.
With
Don't
that
add
being
anything.
with that being said, I'll go to you, Dan, in just a second. I just wanted to just piggyback off Evan just really quick, just to say like one thing
You
I
might
do
say my point.
one thing I do appreciate though is that they do allow like if you want to upgrade something, you can make it its own mission. I do appreciate
Yeah.
that they let you do that in comparison.
I do appreciate that, but it's kind of like
I get you, but in comparison to not offering you an option at all of having to try to track it down yourself and not knowing
fair
of like
enough.
which location is it in, like at least it does that for you, and I appreciate that, and it gives me enough information to know what do I need, how do I get it, and how do I receive it. Dan, go ahead.
What I was going to say is, in this third game, if she goes on another adventure and Ham somehow loses all her fucking gear again, I'm going to chuck the game out the fucking window. Sorry.
classic
like,
Metroid.
They did
You
a
lose
great,
all your shit. Yeah.
They did a great job in the DLC of the first game, like making it hard and challenging, but you keeping everything. And like
Anything.
if we start a new game and you can't fly anymore and you can't like breathe underwater again, I'd be like, go fuck yourself, and that's get you hang in the bin. Like
Yes.
it's a load of fucking bollocks. You either have got the spear that like, oh, I fell into some trouble and I lost all my gear. Fuck off.
Well,
Sorry,
probably
that really-
probably the only
that-
way I could see that they do that to you is if Nemesis showed up right at the beginning of the game and took all your shit.
Yeah, that's
Still bad, though.
They probably will bloody do that because they're a bunch of assholes. But no, that really annoyed me. Like I was like, I get that you need to still have progression, but they could have leveled it in a way that maybe not all of the stuff, but like you should have at least had your I think you should have had the body shield, to be honest.
Yeah,
Like,
no, I don't
there was
I don't
nothing-
disagree with you at all. Like
there was nothing as good as that armor from the first game in this game. You could get like the level up and use like press the button as the extra and leveled it up. But I would have rather them made the enemies harder and me have that shield.
And
then
also-
level up that shield quality.
and also with it, like I agree with you because I really liked that shield. First off, it was the coolest piece of armor you could get in the game, and I also thought the Frozen Wilds did a good job of saying like certain types of would break through the shield.
Yeah.
And so that's the sacrifice you make, is like if you want to have that armor, you will be at risk in this type, and maybe they'll increase the type amount of enemy types that have that type of effect. I'm
But then
actually
they could have done. But they could. What I was thinking, they could have let you then explore, like in the first game, and level up that armor. Like it could have been weak at the beginning because you're in a new world, like new area.
Yeah.
But then as you went through, you could have leveled that armor. I'd have much appreciated that than getting random clothing that made me look like an absolute fool, like the one with a bonnet or whatever. Oh, I
Agreed.
don't want to put that armor on. I just didn't bother. I literally
Agreed.
just didn't bother putting on. I didn't even give a shit about the armor.
I-
Like, first game, I was a lot more into like making the armor good. In this game, I was like, fuck the armor. I hate it.
I only did the Nora armor, and I got the
Yeah.
upgraded one, so and that one looked better. The other ones all looked like a fool.
Yeah.
And
I just
last
want to add that bit.
end with me, I would say I'm more on the Evan side. I think they added way too much to this game, and I think they do need to strip a lot of things down. I'm not as critical on how much to strip down that Evan would want. I'll probably say I'd be a happy medium between Evan's side and what the game is currently. Because I think they have a really good base here. I just think they built on the wrong things, or the things they tried to build on just didn't work or function how I think they wanted it to. Like the climbing, I know we didn't get to that, but like something like the climbing. And, you know, I see where you guys are saying with the teammates and like maybe, yeah, do they join you in battle? And I'm playing Guardians of the Galaxy recently, and in my mind, I really just hope if they involved them, I don't want a combat system like that. I don't want to give them commands. I think Aloy is as character best as a loner, and part of the game is her progress in learning to open up and involve others in her life. And I think the gameplay already does a pretty good job of involving other people. I think maybe you'll do more missions with other people in this game, which I'm more than happy to do. But I don't want anything with like I'm fine with choosing your verbiage of your language leading to the same story plot of choice. I think it's fine. I don't see anything wrong with it. I have an issue with having the Regala choice and then saying like, why did you even do that when clearly that isn't a staple in what you've done before, and it makes no sense to me of why you did it there. So I would just go back to what you did before, which is the 3 choices. Give me 3 different dialogue choices. I'm fine with sharing however choice I want to share, and that's it. But yeah, strip it down.
One final. I'll make it quick because I held on to this point until we got here. I want for the next game them to remove all invisible walls, let me climb anywhere I wanted to, and account for me going to certain locations before I was needed to. The first part of the game introduced the Tenakth as these like madmen, rabid fighters, that are 100% hostile. I tried to go to San Francisco when I was still in the first third of the game. I just went. I want to see how it looks like. I got to this main Tenakth base, whatever. Not the one, not the one with the second act of the game. Much further to the west. I was expecting like hostility. I was expecting everyone to attack me, but no, they were all pacifists. They were pretty cool people, right? And then I tried to break the barrier by swimming and to go to San Francisco again. I couldn't glitch through that. It was impossible. I don't even think you can fly there. You still have to get down the
You can't fly there. You got to get on the boat.
Yeah, and then you come on. This is not PS3.
Well, it is PS4, so it might be it must be a PS5 only feature that is available, but they couldn't do it on PS4.
Of exploration.
So I think in the end, I'm very curious once they make this next one, if what the limitations we have complaints about this game is because they made it for PS4 as well.
I think that's what I worry. So that's what I'm thinking. And the only thing I'm worried about in terms of storyline is what you said, the fact they picture themselves against this like entity. That's the only thing that worries me about the second game.
At least in the third game, the one thing I feel a little bit hope in is that it's only being made for PS5, and therefore it allows their constraints to not be as limiting as they were before.
Yeah.
So. All right. Well, we did a lot. We covered a lot. We did not go 3 hours, OTAPs, like you did with Evan, but we went 2 hours and like 30-something minutes. So thank you for joining us. If you joined us all the way through and you liked the content, go ahead and follow us on Twitter at pixel_pints or on Instagram at pixelpintspod, where you can find out when we stream live every single weekend at twitch.tv/pixelpints, or go to the archive. Yes, archived, children, archived on YouTube. And it also is on every podcast service around the globe. Feel free to check us out. Give us likes, comment. We're more than happy. But with all the fellas here, thanks for joining. And as we always say on this show, on that note, we out.
OTAPs, shortchange the fans, 3 hours minimum.
Oh, people actually.
OTAPs only watched because he wanted to make sure we went 3 hours, but we didn't.
Yeah.